Hey everyone, welcome back to another awesome project in React Native. So in this project, we'll be building a full stack food delivery application in React Native using the Expo framework and the Expo router. And for the backend part, we'll be making use of Supabase as database. And if you find this interesting, please hit the like button and also subscribe for more such content. So let's get started. So firstly, let's look into the demo of the application. So towards my right is the first screen that is being displayed, that is the home screen. So inside the home screen at the top, we're going to show the user's current location, which is this one. And towards the right, we have the user's profile. And below that, we have the search bar being rendered. And after that, we have an image carousel, which is horizontally scrollable. So currently we have two images. And below that, we have basically the recommended hotels, which is again horizontally scrollable with some unique designs. And after that, we have is the explore section, which is rendered again horizontally with some designs being added. And apart from that, below that, we have all of the restaurants coming in directly from the backend. So here we are going to design all of the restaurants. So currently I have 5 restaurants in the backend, so the same is going to be displayed over here as well. So let's say I go into any one of the restaurant, so it's going to take me to the next screen displaying the information of that particular restaurant. So as you can see, we are coming into the next screen. So here at the top, we have some unique information regarding the restaurant. Okay, and over here we have the menu of that particular restaurant being displayed. Okay, so here basically we have something known as sub menus under the menu, and under the sub menus we have basically the original menu items being displayed, as you can see. And at the bottom of the screen as well, we have basically the sub menus. If you press on them, you can automatically go to that particular sub menu, just like this. We can scroll and go to that particular sub menu and then add items to the cart. And over here, if you press on this menu also, it's going to show basically the details. That is how many menu items are present inside that particular sub menu. Okay, so let's add some items to the cart. So this cart system is completely managed by Redux toolkit. Okay, so we'll be implementing that. So as you can see, as soon as I added some items to the cart, we are able to see that over here, which says 2 items added. And if you press on this, it is going to take us to the next screen, that is basically the cart screen, as you can see over here. So inside the cart screen, we're going to basically display all of the items that is there inside of the cart along with the prices and the quantity. And apart from that, we're just going to design some unique design styles over here, such as the delivery instructions and all these designs. And finally, we're going to render the billing details over here. And as soon as I press on the place order button, it's going to take me to the final screen where we display the map. That is after selecting the user's location, that is by getting the latitude and the longitude of the user, that is the original value, and the latitude and the longitude of the hotel. We're going to display basically this polyline between the two destinations, that is the user's destination and the hotel's destination. And this is again a basic design at the bottom of the screen. So we'll be implementing this in this video. And apart from that, we also have 2 screens, that is a login screen as well as the register screen for the user to log in and register. So all this is handled by Supabase itself in the backend. So if you find this interesting, please hit the like button and also subscribe for more such content. So let's get started with the project right away. So now the first step is to initialize the Expo managed project. So let's go do that. So first of all, inside my terminal, I'm going to go into my build folder by writing cd build, and here I'm going to say npx create expo app, and I'm going to press on enter. So this should basically ask us to choose the project name. So in my case, I'm going to say food YouTube. You can give any project name you want, and I'm going to press on enter. So this should create us the project structure for us, that is food YouTube inside of the build folder. So let's give it some time. So as you can see, here we can see the message which says your project is ready. So the next step is we're going to go into that particular folder. So I'm going to press on file, open folder, go into my build folder first of all, and then I'm going to access the first one, that is food YouTube. Okay, and we're going to go into the app.js file. So this is basically the initial file, that is the app.js file where all of the boilerplate code is present. Okay, so but now we need to initialize Expo router into this particular app. So let's head over to Chrome once, and here I'm going to search for Expo router, and I'm going to go into the first link, and we're going to scroll down and press on manual installation. So we have completed this step. So we need to install some required dependencies to inject Expo router into this particular app. So just copy that out, and let's press on terminal, new terminal, and I'm gonna paste it over here. So let's give it some time to install. Okay, so all of the dependencies have been downloaded. So now let's follow the next step. So that is gonna be to set up the entry point. So inside of the package.json, we need to replace the main value. So let's head over to the package.json over here, and previously it's this one. So now we need to replace it with the Expo Router. Save the file. So now after that, we need to modify the project configuration by adding the scheme in the app.json. So let's head over to app.json, and we're going to add the scheme value. Let's say I'm going to add it after the Android part. So here I'm just going to pass in my app name exactly as it is, that is food YouTube. Okay, save the file. So the final one is we need to make the change in, I guess, the babel.config.js by adding the plugins. So copy that out and let's head over to babel.config.js, and we're gonna paste it over here. That is a plugins array. So yep, I think that's it. Yeah, so now we need to run the app. So before running the app, we're gonna initialize our app router at the root level of the application. So let's press on this file, new folder. I'm gonna say app router. So inside the app router, I'm going to create my main root, that is known as the home root, that is represented by index.js. Okay, so I'm going to say rnfes to get the shorthand snippet. So to get the shorthand snippet, you need to have installed ES7 inside your systems. So if you check out the extensions tab over here, that is, yeah, you need to install this one, that is ES7 React Redux or React Native snippets. So yeah, after that, let's come back over here. So as I told, this is the main home root. So basically this is going to represent the forward slash. Okay, so if at all we have, let's say, a home inside of this, then that particular home is going to represent forward slash home. Okay, so if at all we have the home.js inside of the app directory, it's going to represent forward slash home. It's going to take us to that particular route. So currently this is known as the initial home route, which is represented by index.js. So I'm going to save the file. So now the next step is let's run our app. So I'm going to come over here to the terminal. I'm going to say npx expo start, and I'm going to press on enter. So this should install the app into the iOS simulator. So let's give it some time. So as you can see, we have a bunch of options to view the app. That is, we can press on A to see the app on Android simulator or the Android emulator, and we can press on I to see it on the iOS simulator, or press on W to view it on the web. So in my case, I'm going to press on I, so it gets installed on the iOS simulator. So it's going to take in a couple of minutes to install the app, and basically it should show us this particular route, this particular page, that is whatever the content is present, because that is the initial home route when the app loads. So yeah, let's give it some time. So as you can see, the app has been loaded, and towards the right you're able to see index. That means this page is the one that is being rendered when the app loads. Okay, so this is the starting point of our application. So we will build it right from scratch. So now we have completed setting up the Expo router into this particular application, that is Food YouTube. So now the next step is we're going to start designing the layout, and firstly we're going to initialize our home directory, and then we're going to start designing the first screen, that is the home screen. So now I'm just going to open up my file tree and then create a new directory, that is a home directory inside of the app router. So I'm going to say a new folder, and I'm going to say home, just like this. And over here inside of the home directory, I'm going to create my main root, that is going to be the index.js. Okay, so rnfes to get the shorthand snippet. So save the file. So now whenever the app loads, I want this page to be opened up and not this index.js that we are currently seeing, right? So to do that, there is a method known as redirect. So we're going to make use of that. So I'm going to remove everything from here, and I'm going to say import redirect from Expo router. So this is basically going to take in the href value. So in our case, I am going to say you can go to /home. Okay, so now before saving the file, we're going to create the layout for the home, right? So I'm going to press on home, new file. I'm going to say underscore layout.js. Okay, so here inside the layout, first of all, I'm going to import, I'm going to say export default function, that is layout. And here we are basically going to initialize the stack. So I'm going to say return import stack from Expo router. So I'm going to say stack, and here I'm going to initialize my first screen, that is the stack.screen. that's going to be self-enclosing. So this is going to take in the name. So name is going to be index in this case. Okay, so yep, that's it. So format once, and I'm going to provide some screen options to the stack. That is the main stack. Here I'm going to say screen options. I'm going to write header shown is going to be false. Okay, so format once and then save the file. So now as soon as I save the file, that is in the main index.js, we should be able to see this particular file. So just to check the correct output, I'm going to make this as home screen. Okay, so save the file and save this file as well. So as you can see, we are able to see the home screen. That means whenever the app loads, we are able to see this particular index screen, which is supposedly correct, right? So now we're gonna start designing the home screen. So let's come over here. Yeah, we are currently in the home screen, and basically the first step is we need to install a dependency, that is expo location, to get the location of the user. So let's head over to Chrome, and then over here I'm gonna search for expo location, the first link, and I'm gonna copy this piece of code, and we're gonna go into the terminal over here, and I'm gonna paste it over here. Let's press on enter. Okay, so this package has been installed. You can check that out in the package JSON. As you can see, expo location has been installed. So now let's import the required values that we're going to use. So let's come to the index.js over here, and here I'm going to say import star as location from expo location, and apart from that we need one more thing. So I'm going to say import star as location, the geocoding, again this also from expo location. Okay, so now we're going to initialize some state to handle the location. So let's come over here before the return block. So here I'm going to say const location services enabled, comma set location services enabled equals to use state. So initially it's going to be false, and make sure you're going to import use state from React. Alright, just like this. And apart from that, we're going to say const display current address, comma set display current address equals to use state. So initially when there is no address, we are going to show it on the screen which says we are fetching a location, or we're just going to say fetching a location and the 3 dots. Okay, so yeah, save the file. So now we're going to initialize a use effect, which is going to execute basically 2 functions. Alright, so here I'm going to say use effect. Okay, so here I'm going to initialize my first function, that is going to say check if location enabled, and the second function is going to be get the current location. So basically what we're trying to do is, firstly we're going to access the latitude and the longitude of the user, and with the help of the reverse geocode method we're going to convert that into the address that we want of the user. So format once. So firstly let's initialize our first function, that is const check location if enabled. It's going to be an async function, so I'm going to say async. And first of all I'm going to initialize my state. So here I'm going to say let enabled equals to await access the location. We've already imported it over here, so I'm going to say await location dot has service enabled async. So this is the method which we're going to use. Okay, so here I'm going to say if at all it's not enabled, then we're going to show the alert box. So I'm going to say alert dot alert with some messages. I'm going to say location services not enabled, and apart from that we're going to give one more message. We're going to say please enable your location services to continue. Yep, that's it. And apart from that, we're gonna have basically the OK button and the cancel button. So here I'm gonna say an array which is gonna have a text. So this text is gonna say OK. I don't think we need the braces for that, I mean the inverted commas for that. Okay, and apart from that we have the cancelable button as well. So I'm going to initialize my object, and here I'm going to say cancelable is going to be false. So yeah, that's it. And this is the if condition. Else, that means the location service is enabled. So here I'm going to say set the location service enabled to be true. So yep, that's it. That's it for this function, that is check if location is enabled or not. So now apart from that, we have the next function, that is get the current location. So here I'm going to say const get current location equals to a async function again. So here I'm going to initialize my status. So I'm going to say const status equals to wait, access the location. We have the dot request background permission async. Okay, that's the function which we'll be using. And here I'm going to say if at all the status is not granted, then here again we're going to show the alert message. So I'm going to say alert.alert. Here I'm going to write permission not granted, and here with the second message I'm going to say allow the app to use the location service. Okay, so after this we're going to initialize our button, that is a text button which says okay, and again I'm going to say cancelable is going to be false. Okay, so if at all the status is granted, we are going to get the current position async, that is basically the latitude and the longitude of the user. So here I'm going to say const location equals to await location dot get current position async. It's going to take in basically an object. We're going to pass in the accuracy which we want. So here I'm going to say location dot accuracy dot high. Okay, so if at all you want to see the data, you can just console.log the location whatever you're getting. So here I'm going to say console.log of the location, and here I'm going to say let the coordinates. So I'm going to say let coords equals to await location dot get current position async. Okay, and basically over here if at all we get the coords, we're just gonna get the latitude and the longitude from that, right? So here I'm gonna say if at all we have the coords value, then I'm gonna destructure the latitude and the longitude. If at all you can, if you want to see the data for the coords, you can just console.log the coords. So from the coordinates we can get the latitude and the longitude. So I'm going to say const latitude comma longitude equals to the coords. Okay, and here I'm going to say let response equals to await location. So after getting the values, that is latitude and longitude, we're going to apply the reverse geocode async method so that we get the correct results, that is in the form of the address for that particular values, that is the latitude and the longitude. So to do that, I'm going to say let response equals to await location geocoding dot, or before this we're going to say location dot reverse geocode async. It's going to take in the latitude and the longitude. So I'm going to say latitude comma longitude, that's going to come from the coords. And apart from that, I'm going to say const address equals to await location geocoding dot reverse geocode async, which in turn is going to take in the latitude and the longitude again. Okay, so after that, here I'm going to initialize the address. So I'm going to say const street address equals to address of 0 dot name. If you want, you can console log the address. I've already done that, and I'm going to apply the for loop. So I'm going to say for let item of whatever the response is, I want the address to be of this format. So I'm going to say const let address equals to, I'm going to make use of backticks. So from that particular response, I need basically the item dot name, and I want the item dot postal code, and I want the item dot city. Okay, so after getting the value, we're just going to set the display current address to that particular value, right? So here I'm going to say set the display current address to be of that particular address, just like this. Okay, so yep, that's it. So format once, and I think we could save the file. And if you want, you can console.log the required things, that is the coordinates if you want, and the street address as well as the display current address. So let's console.log this one just over here before the return block. So I'm going to say console.log my address and then the display current address. So let's save the file. So as you can see, as soon as I saved the file, you're able to see this alert box which says allow permission to access the location. And so I'm just going to press on allow. Okay guys, so there was actually a typo error that we had made. So here this needs to be a small c. So previously we had written a capital C for location geocoding, and the same thing you need to change over here as well. Again, this is going to be the small c instead of capital C. So as you can see over here, we can see the coordinates, and from the coordinates we can get access to the latitude and the longitude, and this is basically my address. Okay, but this is not going to work correctly on the simulator because it's not my current address. But if you try this on your own phone, it's going to show your accurate address, that is wherever you're present. So we are able to access the address. This part is complete. So now the next step is we're going to start designing the starting point of the home screen. So for that, I'm going to import my scroll view from React Native, and I'm going to make use of the scroll view instead of the normal view that is present. So for the scroll view, I'm going to give some styling. So I'm going to say style, give it a flex of 1 and a background color of this color code, that is F8, F8 and F8. So save the file. Okay, so now after that, let's remove the text. So I'm going to make use of a normal view over here, which is going to have the location icons. So I'm going to head over to expo.icons.fii, the first link. So I'm going to search for location. So location, we're going to make use of the octi icons, the oct icons, that is, let's scroll down. Yeah, we're going to make use of this one. So import the icon family first, and we're going to copy the render component code as well, and we're going to paste it over here inside of the view. Okay, and apart from that, we have the view, one more view, which is going to have two texts. So the first text is going to say deliver to, and we're going to have one more text which is going to show the display current address. And apart from the view, we are going to have one more thing towards the right, that is the user profile. So now I'm just going to write my name, that is the starting letter of the name, and I'm going to give the style for the pressable. So I'm going to say style, give it a background color of this color code, okay, 6EB4EE, and we're going to give it a specific width and height. So I'm going to give it a width of 40 and a height of 40, and I'm going to say a border radius of 20 to make it look exactly circular, and I'm going to say justify content of center and align items of center as well. So I'm going to save the file. So as you can see, this is the address, this is the icon and the pressable. So now for the view, I'm going to give the styling. So I'm going to say style, flex direction of row, align items of center, and we're going to give it basically a gap of 12 and some internal spacing, that is padding of 10. Okay, so now for this view, firstly let's save the file. Okay, so now I just want this pressable to be pushed towards the rightmost towards the rightmost part. So to do that, I'm going to go to the view over here. So I'm going to say style, give it a flex of 1 and push it towards the rightmost part. So as you can see, it is pushed towards the rightmost part. So yep, that's it. So let's format once and start designing the text attributes. So I'm going to say style over here. So it's going to have a font size, a font size of 15 and a font weight of 500. Okay, and over here I'm going to give this style, color is going to be gray, font size is going to be 16, and I'm going to give it a margin top of 3. And we're going to change the color of the icon. Instead of black, we're going to give this color code, that is E52850. Save the file. As you can see, that's looking better. So yep, let's actually call this just one time so that it doesn't keep calling again and again. Okay, so yep, that's it. So we have designed the first part. So now the next step we'll be looking into is we're gonna start initializing the design for the search bar that is gonna come just below this particular address. So now here after the view, I'm gonna initialize my search bar. So I'm gonna say view. I'm gonna import the text input from React Native. So this is basically gonna have a placeholder which says search for food, hotels. And first of all, let's get the icon, that is a search bar icon. So here I'm gonna search for search. Okay, so we're gonna take it from and design. So first of all, import the and design family over here, and we're gonna use it. So copy the render component code, and we're gonna paste it right after the text input, that is over here. So let's give the style for the view. So I'm gonna say style. So I'm gonna give it a flex direction of row, align items of center, and I'm gonna give it a justify content of space between. And apart from that, I'm going to give it a border width of 1 and a border color as well with this color code, that is C0 C0 C0. And after that, we're going to give some padding vertical and horizontal. So padding vertical of 8 and then padding horizontal of, let's say, 10. And we're going to give it a slight border radius as well. So I'm going to say border radius of 11 and a margin top of 10 and a margin horizontal as well of, let's say, 10. So save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see the search bar coming on the screen. Okay, so that's looking better. So let's change the icon. Let's change the icon color over here. So it's going to be E52 or B50. Okay, so now after that, we're going to show the image carousel that is going to come below the search bar. So I'm going to open up my file tree. At the root level, I'm going to create a new folder, that is my components folder. So here I'm going to say carousel.js, rnfes to get the shorthand snippet. Save the file. So now inside this, we are going to make use of a package. So let's come to the terminal, and I'm going to say yarn add React Native image slider box. We have used this package in the previous projects, you can check that out. So we are going to make use of this again, that is React Native image slider box. So let's install this one. Okay, so now the package has been installed. As you can see, there are some changes in the app. Okay, so we are not able to see the home screen correctly. So once let's design this off, and then we're gonna import this into the home screen, into the index.js, and then we're gonna reload the app. So first of all, I'm gonna get the images required to show it on the screen. So I've just pasted the images over here. I'll be sending the images in the drive link. You can just check out all of the data that are being used in the app. I'll be sending in the drive link. You can check out the description for that. So now over here, instead of the text, I'm gonna make use of the carousel. Okay, I mean not carousel, it's gonna be the slider box. So make sure you import slider box from React Native image slider box. So this is basically gonna take in the images. So in our case, it's going to be the images itself that is in the array, that is this one. All right, so I'm going to give some options to this. So I'm going to say autoplay is going to be true, and circle loop also is going to be true. We're going to pass in the dot color for this. It's going to be this one, that is 132 7FE or 74F. Okay, and we have one more attribute, that is the inactive dot color. So inactive dot color is gonna be this one, that is 90A4AE. Okay, and apart from that, it's gonna take in basically the style, that is the image component style. So here I'm gonna say image component style. Alright, so here I'm gonna give it a border radius for the image. So border radius of, let's say, 6, and I'm gonna give it a specific width. So I'm gonna say width of 94%. Okay, and I'm gonna give it a margin top as well of 10. So save the file. So now let's import this into the index.js of the home directory, that is just after the view, and then we're gonna reload the app. So let's come over here and press on R. So as you can see, we are able to see the carousel being shown on the screen. This is the first image and this is the second image. So we are done with this part. So now the next step we'll be looking into is we're going to show the categories that are horizontally scrollable. So let's format once. Okay, and open up the file tree, and I'm going to create a new file inside of my components folder. So here I'm going to say categories.js rnfes together shorthand snippet. Save the file. So now I'm just going to get the data for the categories over here, that is into my categories.js file. Okay guys, I've just pasted the items array that we're going to use to design the categories. Okay, I'll be sending this also in the description in the form of the drive link. You can access that. So as you can see, this items array is an array of objects. So basically it has a unique ID and the name attribute for that particular object. So with the help of this, we're going to design this. So let's come over here into the view. So I'll be making use of a flat list for this. So I'm going to say flat list, import that from React Native. So for the flat list, I want it to be horizontal. So I'm going to say horizontal, and show horizontal scroll indicator, I'm going to set it to be false. So this is going to take in two things, that is the data. So in this case, it's going to be items, and the next thing is the render item. Okay, so this in turn is going to take in the item, and we're going to render basically a touchable opacity. So I'm going to say touchable opacity, import that from a React Native itself, not from gesture handler. Okay, so import this and let's remove this off. And inside the touchable opacity, I'm going to initialize my view, and inside the view we are basically just going to show the text attribute. So to access the name, it's going to be item.name. So let's give the style for basically the touchable opacity. That is, we're going to give it a active opacity value, that's going to be 0.8, and for the style we're just going to give it a margin top. So I'm going to say margin top of 5, and we're going to save the file. Okay, we're not able to see anything. I think we have not rendered that, I guess. Yeah, so let's go to the carousel, and just below the carousel I'm going to say categories, and make sure you import categories from the components folder just like this. Okay, so we're going to save the file so that we can see it on the screen. So as you can see, we're able to see all of the details being shown on the screen. So let's head back to the categories component, and we're going to start designing the view. So for the style, we're going to give it basically a margin horizontal of, let's say, 10, and a margin vertical of 5, and we're going to give it some internal spacing, that is padding of 5, and we're going to give it a background color of this color code, that is D8 or DB7093, and we're going to give it a slight border radius as well, so border radius of 5 or 4. So for the text also we're going to give the style, so I'm going to say style. This is going to have a padding horizontal of 5, and we're going to give it a color of white, and we're going to give it a font weight of 500. Okay, so save the file. So as you can see, we have designed the categories component. It's looking good. Okay, and it's horizontally scrollable as well. So now the next step we'll be looking into is we're going to start and design the recommended part that is going to happen inside of the index.js itself, just below the categories. So here I'm going to initialize my scroll view to show the recommended items. So scroll view is already imported. Okay, so this is again going to be the horizontally scrollable. So I'm going to say horizontal, and I'm going to give show horizontal scroll indicator, and I'm going to set it to be false. So now I'm just going to import the data required to design the recommended component. Okay, I've just pasted the recommended array over here. Again, this is an array of objects which has a basic unique ID, the name of the hotel and the image of the hotel, the time, as well as the type of the food they give or they have. All right, so with the help of this, we're gonna initialize our recommended part. So here I'm gonna say recommended dot map. So for every item and the index, I'm gonna return basically a view. So inside the view, we are going to firstly show the image. So for that, I'm going to have one more view, and I'm going to first of all import my image from React Native. So as you can see, image is not imported, so let's import that. Okay, yeah, so for the image, let's give the source. So I'm going to say source. So this in turn is going to take in the URI. So to access the image, it's going to be item.image. And let's give the style to the image so that we can see it on the screen. So basically I'm going to give it a width of 100 and a height of 100, and I'm going to give it a resize mode of cover, and I'm going to give it a border top left radius of 8, and I'm going to give it a border bottom left radius of 7, and I'm going to save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see all of the images that are there inside of the array. Okay, so now we are gonna give the style for the outermost view. So I'm gonna say style to give it some spacing. So I'm gonna give it a background color of white for each of the item, and I'm gonna give it a flex direction of a row, and basically some external spacing, that is margin of 10, and a slight border radius of 8. So save the file. So as you can see, the space has been applied. So now we're gonna design the next part of the view that's gonna come after the image. That's basically gonna contain the texts. Okay, so first thing is it's gonna be the name of the hotel. So I'm gonna say item.name over here. So as you can see, the white background is applied and we're able to see the name. And after that, we are gonna show text. So this is basically gonna show the type. Okay, so here I'm gonna say item.type. So item.type, save the file. So as you can see, that's looking better. So and finally we have one more view that's gonna contain the icon as well as the timings. So let's get the icon. That's the iOS time icon. So iOS time, that is this one from iron icons. So iron icons is already imported, so just paste the code over here, and we're gonna have the text attribute, and we're gonna say item.time to show the time. Save the file. Okay, iron icons does not exist, so let's just import it like this. Okay, so as you can see, we're able to see that coming on the screen. So now we're gonna go to the view and then we're gonna start styling it out. So style, first of all, let's give it some internal spacing, a padding of 10, and I'm gonna give it a flex direction of column. And for the second text, that is the type, I wanted to push the third text towards the bottommost part. So we'll give a flex of 1 to that. So before that, let's style the view. So I'm going to say a flex direction of row. Alright, and I'm going to give it basically align items of center as well. And I'm going to give it a gap of 3. And this color, I'm going to change it to be green color instead of black. So now for this, as I told, let's give it a flex of 1. So it pushes the third view, this view to the bottommost part of the container, right? So save the file. So as you can see, that's looking better. So now let's design the text fields. That's the first one and the second one. So I'm going to say style over here. So we're going to have a font size of 15 and a font weight of 500. So for the second one, we're going to give it a slight margin top. So I'm going to say margin top of 3. We're going to give it a color of gray. So color of gray, and we're going to give it a font weight of 500. Just like this. So format once and save the file. So as you can see, that's looking better. So we have finished designing this part as well. So now the next step is we're going to initialize a text attribute that is going to come right after the scroll view, where we're going to show the explore items. So here I'm just going to say explore, just like this. Okay, and let's give the style for this. So I'm going to say style. So it's basically going to have a text align of center, and we're going to give it a margin top as well. So margin top of 7. I'm going to give it a bit of letter spacing of 4 and a slight margin bottom value of, let's say, 5 or 6, and a color of gray, and I'm going to save the file. So as you can see, that's looking good. So now the next step is I'm going to get the data for designing the next component, that is the explore component. Okay, so I've just pasted the items array. Again, this is an array of objects. If you can see, it has a unique ID, it has the name, it has the description, and it has the image to be shown. So with the help of this data, we are going to design the explore component. I'll be sending all of the data used in this app in the drive link. You can make use of that. Okay, so let's scroll down, and after the text, I'm going to initialize my scroll view once again. And inside the scroll view, we're going to give the same attributes that we gave earlier, that is horizontal, and I'm going to say show horizontal scroll indicator, and I'm going to set it to be false. So here I'm going to say items dot map. So for every item and the index, I'm going to return a view over here, and this view in turn is going to have basically the image. So let's give the source to the image. So I'm going to say source, which in turn is going to take in the URI. In this case, it's going to be again item.image. Let's give the style for the image so that we can see it on the screen. So we're going to give it a width of 50 for the image and the height of 50 as well. So let's save the file. So as you can see, we're able to see all of the images being rendered on the screen. So after that, after the image, we're going to show basically the text attribute. So here it's going to be item.name to access the name, and we need access to the description as well. So I'm going to say access the text over here, and to access the description, it's going to be item.description. So as you can see, you're able to see all of the information being rendered on the screen. So now let's go to the top view and then give the required values, that is basically the style. So I'm going to say style. So I'm going to give it a specific width of, let's say, 90, and I'm going to give it a border color of this color code, that is E0 E0 E0, and then border width of 1, and I'm going to give it a padding vertical of 5, and I'm going to give it a padding horizontal of 1, a slight border radius of, let's say, 5. Okay, so after the border radius, we're going to give it some margin left, so margin left of 10, and we're going to give it a margin vertical also, spacing towards the vertical axis, and I'm going to say align items of center, justify content of center, and we're going to give it a background color that's going to be white. So I'm going to say background color of white. So save the file. So just like that, our component is finished. It's looking good. So now the next step is we're going to style the text attributes. So let's come to the first text over here. So I'm going to say style over here, and here it's going to have a font size of 13, and I'm going to give it a font weight of 500, and I'm going to give it a margin top of 6. And for the next style, that is for the next text over here, I'm going to give it a font size of 12, and I'm going to give it a different color, that is the color of gray, and I'm going to give it a slight margin top of 3. So save the file. So as you can see, that's looking good. Okay, so now the next step is we're just gonna render the hotels for now, and once we complete designing the entire app, then we're gonna initialize the backend, that is Supabase, and then we're gonna add some hotels into the backend along with the menu, and then we're gonna fetch all of the details from that. So now the next step is I'm gonna import my hotels data and then use it over here, that is with the help of the local data. And once we finish designing it, we're gonna add the data in the backend and then fetch it. So let me import my hotels data at the top of the page. So I've imported my hotels data over here. So I've basically used the data from the same project itself that we have built previously. But while initializing the backend or while adding the data in the backend, I'm gonna use some fresh data that also will be sent in the description below. Okay, so again, this is an array of objects. So basically we have an ID, we have the feature image, and apart from that we have the name, cuisines, time, and all the other details required. So with the help of this information, firstly we're going to design the hotels. That's going to come right below the explore component. So let's scroll down, and after the scroll view, first of all I'm going to initialize my text which says all restaurants. So I'm going to give the style to this text. So I'm going to say basically a text align of center. Okay, and we're going to give it a margin top of 7. We are again going to give a letter spacing of 4 and a margin bottom of 5 and a color of gray. So save the file. So as you can see, we're able to see that text coming on the screen. So now I'm gonna create a new component, that is my hotel component, inside of my components folder. So save the file. So now let's come back over here, and after the text I'm gonna initialize my view. So to the view I'm gonna give some styling. So I'm gonna basically give a margin horizontal of 8, and inside the view I'm gonna map over my hotels. So I'm gonna say hotels.map for every item, and then the index, render the hotel component, and it's gonna take in the key, and it's gonna take in basically the item itself that's gonna contain all of the information. So as soon as I save the file, how many of our data is, how many of our objects are there inside of the hotels array, that many times this component is going to get rendered on the screen. So let's save the file. So as you can see, we have a bunch of hotels over here. So all of them are being rendered correctly. So now let's head over to the hotel component and then start styling it out. So firstly, let's destructure the props, that is the item, and over here let's make use of the pressable instead of the normal view. Over here as well, pressable. Okay, so now over here I'm basically going to show the image first. So I'm going to import my image. Let's import image from React Native. So this image in turn is going to take in two things, the source and the style. So I'm going to say source. So here I'm going to say item.image over here, not image, it's going to be featured image. Let's write the source correctly over here. So now I'm just going to copy the styles for the image over here. So I'm basically going to give it a width of 100%, aspect ratio of 6:4, border top left radius of 6, and border top right radius of 6. So I'm going to save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see the images for all of the hotels over here. So now we're going to give basically the style for the container over here. So I'm going to say style. I'm going to paste the styles over here. So basically it's going to have a margin horizontal of 6, margin vertical of 12, border radius of 20, and a background color of white. So save the file. So as you can see, now you're able to see the things are getting spaced out, which is good. So now after the image, we're basically going to show the view. So inside this view we're going to have basically one more view. So inside this view we're going to show the informations, that is basically the text information. So the first one is going to be item.name, and this one is going to be item dot cuisines or item dot description. Do we have the description? Let's just check that out once over here. Oh no, description is not there. So for now we're just gonna hard code this one, and once we initialize the backend we're gonna write the correct value and then access it correctly. And after this we're gonna show the timings. So I'm gonna say text, that's gonna be item dot time. So save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see the text being shown on the screen. So after that we're gonna have one more view which is gonna show us the aggregate rating. So this view is gonna have text. Okay. Here I'm gonna say item dot aggregate rating. Save the file. So as you can see, we're able to see the time as well as the rating. So firstly let's style this view out. So I'm going to give it a flex direction of row, align items of center, and I'm going to give it a background color of this color code. In capitals. Okay, so apart from that we're going to give it a border radius. So border radius of let's say 4, and we're going to give it some padding horizontal spacing, that is 4, and we're going to give it a padding vertical of 5, and we're going to give it a slight margin right of 10. So now we're going to give the style for the outermost view, that is this one that contains both the views. So here I'm going to say flex direction row, align items of center, and justify content of space between. So as you can see, that's looking better. So now we're going to give the style for the left container, that is this view. So here we're just going to give it a padding vertical of 4 and a padding horizontal of 3. And apart from that, we're going to give the style for both the text over here, the first one and the second one. So the first one is going to be the style, that is a padding horizontal of 10, margin top of 10, font size of 16, and font weight of 600. Okay, so I think let's remove the padding horizontal and the vertical over here from the top because we are giving it here. So save the file. Yep, I think that's looking better. So now for the second text as well, let's copy this out and let's give it a different color. Let's say color of gray, and we're going to decrease it to 500. And let's just keep it to be 3. Okay, and for the final one, let's copy this out and we're going to give it font size of 14. Okay, color is going to be 505050. Okay, yeah, I think that's looking better. So now we're going to give this color as well. For this text, it's going to be white color. So I'm going to say style, text line of center, and I'm going to give it a color of white. Okay, so I think we missed out one more thing, that is the icon to be shown, that is after the rating. So let's just copy that out. Okay, so let's search for the star icon. So let's choose this one, iOS star. Let's import the icons and copy the render component code, and we're gonna paste it after the text. So this also we're gonna give it white color. we're going to keep the size to be 15, and let's give a gap of 3 between the icon as well as the text attribute. I think now it's looking good. Okay, so yeah, now what we're going to do is we're going to show the offer part that's going to come after this particular view. So here I'm going to say view, that is self enclosing. So here I'm going to write down the styles for the line. This is basically a separator between the first one and the second one. So save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see that line being applied. So after this, we're going to show basically one more detail. So here I'm going to say view, which is the icon as well as the offer. So we're going to make use of the material community icons. That is basically the percent icon. Yeah, this one. So firstly, let's import that and copy the render component code. We're gonna paste it over here, and apart from that, we're gonna write for now a hard-coded value. We're gonna say 20% off up to ₹100. So for the view, we're gonna give the style. So I'm gonna say a flex direction of row, align items of center, and a gap of 4. And we're going to change the icon as well. Icon color, it's going to be a blue color with this color code, that is 1F75FE. Okay, so as you can see, that's looking better. So let's also give some margin horizontal of 3. Not to this one. So let's remove that out, and we're going to give it over here. Yeah, it is looking better. And some margin vertical as well. So I'm going to say margin vertical of 5. Okay, so now we're going to style the text out. So here I'm going to say style. So here I'm going to give a margin left of 5 or margin left of 2, because we have already given the gap, and the color is going to be the same color code that we gave to the icon. So copy that out, and we're going to give it a font weight of 500. So as you can see, that's looking better. Okay, so we have finished designing the home screen, okay, with all of the hotels being rendered with the help of the local data. So now we're going to initialize the on-press event on the pressable, and when the user presses on any one of the hotel, we should be navigated to the information screen of the hotel, and over there we're going to show the menu of the hotel along with some unique information at the top part of it. So first of all, let's initialize the on-press event on the pressable and send some data to the next screen. So here I'm going to say on-press. So I guess before creating on-press event, let's create another screen, that is a hotel screen, inside of our home directory. So I'm going to press on home and then new file. I'm going to say hotel.js. So rnfes to get the Sujan snippet and save the file. So over here inside of the hotel, firstly let's include this screen into the stack over here. So I'm going to say stack.screen. Name is going to be hotel. So let's come back over here, and inside of the on-press, first of all, let's initialize a router. So I'm going to say const router equals to use router, import that from Expo Router, and here inside of the on-press I'm going to say router.push to this particular path, that is going to be /hotel, or instead of this I'm going to pass in an object. So I'm going to say path name is going to be /hotel, and we're going to have the params, and I'm going to pass a bunch of information to the next screen. So basically I'm trying to pass the ID, the name, the address, the small address, the cuisines, aggregate rating, and number of delivery. This is actually not required, so I'm going to remove this. Okay, so all of this information towards the right hand side is coming of course from the props itself, as you can see. So let's save the file and let's give this a try. So I'm going to go to the first one. So as you can see, we are coming correctly to the hotel screen of that particular hotel. So now the next step is we're going to start design the hotel. So first of all, we're going to start designing the initial part where we have the icon, and towards the right side again we have again a bunch of icons. So first of all, to receive the params, I'm going to say const params equals to use local search params, just like this. And over here inside of the view, instead of the view, I'm going to make use of the scroll view over here. So copy that out and paste it over here instead of the normal view, just like this. And for the scroll view, I'm going to give it a background color of white, that is for the entire screen. So over here, first of all, I'm going to initialize my view. This in turn is going to have basically the back icon, so I'm going to get that. So I'm going to search for back over here. We're going to take it from ion icons, that is this one. So firstly, import the icon family. We're going to paste it over there, and after that we're going to copy the render component code and we're going to paste it over here. And apart from that, we're going to initialize one more view. So inside this view, we're going to have 3 icons that will come towards the right part of the screen. So the first one is going to be the camera icon. So I'm going to search for camera. So we're going to make use of this one. So let's import the icon family first from simple line icons. So copy the render component code and we're gonna paste it over here. So the second one which we'll be using is basically the bookmark outline icon. So bookmark outline from ion icons. So it's already imported, so you can just paste it over here. And apart from that, we're going to use the share outline icon. So again, that also from ion icons, or we can use this or this one. If you want to use this one, you need to import the icon family first, and then we're going to copy the render component code. Okay, so let's save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see all of the icons as well as the 3 icons coming on the screen. So now let's firstly style this one that contains 3 icons. So here I'm going to say flex direction of row, align items of center, and I'm going to give it basically a padding horizontal of 14, just like this. And for the next thing is we need to style the outermost view as well. So here I'm going to say style. So I'm going to give it a margin top of, let's say, 5, and I'm going to give it a flex direction of row. Okay, and align items of center, and I'm going to give justify content of space between. And for this one, that is the ion icons, we're going to give the style. So this is going to have basically a padding right. I'm going to say padding right of 5, and I'm going to save the file. Okay, so instead of padding right, I'm going to give some padding. I think giving padding is better, I guess. Okay, and among these icons, let's give a gap, I guess, gap of 10. Okay, I think that's looking better. So now the next step is we're going to initialize on press event on this one. So I'm going to say on press is going to take in a function. I'm just going to say router dot back. Let's initialize a router. So I'm going to say const router equals to use router, import use router from the expo vector icons, from expo router. Okay, so let's save the file. And now after that, we're going to start designing the top portion of the design. So that's going to happen after this view. So I'm going to say view. This is going to take in the text, which is going to say params.name. So as you can see, you're able to see the hotel name coming on the screen. So after that, we're going to have again one more text field. This is going to contain the description. So currently we do not have the description in the data that we have. So for now, I'm just going to hard code it. That is this one. But once while we initialize the backend or add data into the backend, we're going to have a description field as well. So just like this, that part is done. And now we could save the file. As you can see, that's coming on the screen. So now after that, I'm going to initialize one more view. This view is going to have one more view inside of it, and it's going to have a text which is going to show us the rating. So I'm going to say params dot aggregate rating. Okay, as you can see, that's working fine. And apart from that, we need the star icon again. So we're going to make use of ion icons. This one. So ion icons is already imported, so copy the render component code and we're going to paste it over here. Okay, just after the text, and we're going to save the file. So now I'm just going to give the style to this view that contains the text as well as the icon. So I'm going to give, of course, flex direction of row, and I'm going to give it align items of center, and apart from that, a background color of this color code, that is 006A 4E, and we're going to give it a border radius of 4, and I'm going to give it a padding horizontal of 4 and padding vertical of 5. Okay, so as you can see, that's looking fine. So now we're going to change the color of the text. So here I'm going to say give it a color of white for the text, and apart from that, we're going to give it a font size as well, font size of 14, and a font weight of bold. This also is going to have a white color for the icon. So as you can see, that's looking fine. So now apart from that, finally we're going to have one more piece of view, not view, but it's going to be a text. For now, we're just going to hard code it. So I'm going to say 3.2k ratings and save the file. So for this, I'm going to give the style. So here we're going to give basically a font size of 14, and we're going to give it a font weight of 500, and I'm going to give it a margin left of, let's say, 5. Okay, so now let's go back to the first view and then start giving the styles for it. That is this one. So I'm going to say style. So here we're going to say justify content of center, align items of center, and give it a margin vertical of 12. So as you can see, that's looking fine. Okay, and I think we need to give some margin top as well for each of the text that is present. So firstly, for the first one, let's give the style over here. So I'm going to say font size of 20 and a font weight of bold. Save the file. As you can see, that's looking fine. So for the second piece of text, I'm going to give the style. So I'm going to give it basically a margin top, since it's almost touching the top text. And I'm going to give it a color of gray, and I'm going to give it a font weight of 500, and I'm going to give it a font size of 15, just like this, and save the file. So as you can see, that's looking good. So now we are going to have the view that's going to come up. So for this view, we're going to give the style. That's this one. So I'm going to say style. So basically a flex direction of row and align items of center, and we're going to give it a gap of 4, and we're going to give it a margin top of 10. Also, I forgot to put this text inside of the view, because we've given a flex selection of row. So this is the first view and this is the second text. So for these two children, we're gonna apply the styles, right? So save the file. As you can see, that's looking fine. So let's decrease the size of the icon to be 15 instead of 24. Okay, and we're gonna give it a gap as well for this inner view, basically a gap of 6 or 4. Okay, yep, that's looking fine. We're gonna initialize the view after the text, or I mean after this view. We're just gonna say a text. Here I'm gonna say 30 to 40 minutes, and we're gonna write 6 kilometer over here. Okay, so now we're gonna give the style for the outermost view. I mean for this view which contains the text. So justify content of center, align items of center. It's gonna have a specific background color of this color code, that is D0, F0 and then C0. It's gonna have a border radius as well of 20, some internal spacing, padding horizontal of 10, padding vertical of 5, and a slight margin top of 12. So save the file. So as you can see, that's looking better. I think, you know, let's increase this font size of this ratings to be 15. Okay, I think that's looking fine. So now the next step we'll be looking into is we're gonna make use of the local menu that's going to be same for all of the hotels for now, unless we initialize the backend. Okay, so that the design process gets finished, and then after that we're going to implement the redux part. So now I'm just going to get the menu. It's going to be same for all of the hotels for the time being, and after making use of the menu to design the food items, that is including the sub menus and all, after that we're going to initialize redux and then implement the cart system. So I'm just going to copy down the menu over here. So I've pasted the required menu over here. So this is again an array of objects. Okay, so basically it's going to have a sub menu under the menu. So this is known as a sub menu that is recommended, and inside that we are going to have the items array with the ID, the name, price, description, and all the other details required. Okay, so again we have one more sub menu, that is rice over here, and for rice we are going to have some items for that particular sub menu. Right, with the help of this we're going to start and design the menu for that particular hotel. So currently it's going to be the same for all of the hotels. So I'm going to come down over here after this view, and I'm going to initialize, or we can just directly map over it. So I'm going to say menu dot map for every item, and then the index. First of all, let me create a new component. So I'm going to create, let's say, a food item component. So RNFES to get the shorthand snippet. Save the file, and inside the hotel component I'm gonna say render the food item component and pass in the key, and we're gonna pass in the item as well. So I'm gonna say item equals to item. So save the file. So currently we have two sub menus, that is the recommended and rice. So you're able to see 2 times food item being rendered. Okay, so that's working fine. So now let's go to food item, and then we're gonna destructure the props, that is get the item. And over here, first of all, I'm gonna initialize my data. So I'm gonna say const data equals to item, so that we can map over it. Right, so let's come into the view block, and here I'm gonna write data dot map. So for every item and then index, here I'm gonna return basically a pressable. So import pressable from React Native, and the first thing over here is the text. Here I'm gonna say item dot index. I mean not item dot index, item dot name, to show the name of the sub menu. So I'm gonna say save the file. So as you can see, we have 2 things, recommended and then rice. So key is gonna be index, and yeah, after the name we are also going to show in parentheses the amount of items present under that particular sub menu. So to get that, it's going to be item dot items dot length. So if you check out the data over here, I guess this one. Okay, not here. I think we are doing it in the hotel.js. Yeah, this one. So if you scroll up, and we are trying to get the length of a particular sub menu. So it's going to be item dot, since items is an array, we can find out the number of items with the help of the length property. So that's what I've done over here. That's going to be item dot items dot length. So save the file. So for recommended we have 5 items, and for rice we have 4 items. Okay, so now we're going to give the style, and apart from that we're going to have one more icon as well, that is the down icon. So we're going to say down. Let's use this one. So copy the render component code, and we're going to paste it over here. So now for the pressable, let's give the style over here. So basically we're going to give it some external spacing, that is a margin of 10, and we're going to give it a flex direction of row, align items center, and justify content of space between. So as you can see, that's looking good, and let's decrease the icon size to be 20. Alright, so yeah, that's looking fine. So now after the pressable, we are basically going to map through the items, basically the items that is present. So as you can see, we're going to map over this, and we're going to display for each of the sub menus that is present. So previously in the previous food application that we built, what we used to do is, if at all we press on the sub menu itself, then only we were going to show the items present under that particular sub menu. But over here we're just going to show all of the items along with the sub menu without initiating any kind of on press on the sub menus. So to do that, I'm going to directly map over the items. So we have access to the item from the props. So I'm going to say item dot access the items array. So I'm going to say item dot items dot map. So for every item and then the index, we're going to render again another component. I think we have a bracket kind of error, so let's write it once again. Okay, I think we need to make use of fragments because we are writing it below the pressable. So let's make use of this fragments. One is going to come over here, and one is going to come over here. Yeah, so now we could map over it. So I'm going to say item dot items dot map. So for every item and then the index, here we're going to create one more component that is going to be the menu item. So go to the components folder, new file, menu item.js. So rnfes to get the Sujan snippet, save the file. Let's come back to the food item component, and here I'm going to say render the menu item. So key is going to be index, and item is going to be item. So as soon as I save the file, how many of our items are there inside of the items array for that particular sub menu, we're going to see that many times the menu item component being rendered. So for recommended, it's going to render 5 times, and for rice it's going to render 4 times. So let's save the file. So as you can see, 5 and then 4. So now let's start designing the menu item inside of the menu item component. So let's access the props, restructure it like this, and first of all, instead of the text, I'm going to make use of my pressable over here. Import that from React Native, and inside the pressable we're going to give basically a view, and this view is going to have the name of the, is going to contain details that is going to show the starting from the name of the item, that is going to be item.name. Okay, as you can see, we're able to see all of the details being shown on the screen. And after that, we're going to show the price of the item. So I'm going to say item.price. Okay, as you can see, that's looking better. Let's get the symbol for the rupee. Okay, so after that, we're going to have basically one more text where we're going to show the reviews over here for that particular, not the reviews, the ratings for that particular item. Yeah, so you can pretty much copy that out. So we are making use of the font awesome, and we are mapping over the 5 stars, and depending upon whatever is there over here inside of the a rating, we're gonna choose either it's gonna be a star icon or it's gonna be star O. So now let's import, font awesome from the vector icons, expo vector icons. So let's say font awesome and save the file. So as you can see, that's looking better. So now apart from that, we're gonna show the description. So first of all, let's give the style for the outermost view over here. I mean for the pressable. So I'm gonna say style. It's gonna have some external spacing, a margin of 10, and it's gonna have a flex direction of row. So flex direction of row, and it's gonna have justify content of space between, because towards the right side we're gonna have the image and the button to add the item to the cart, and we're gonna have a margin vertical of 15 so that it spaces out from the other items present. Okay, yep, that's looking fine. So now we're gonna have the description coming after the text. So I'm gonna say text over here. So here we're gonna apply the condition and render it. So I'm gonna say if at all the item dot description, if it is greater than 40, then I'm gonna say I want the item dot description dot, I'm gonna apply the substring method, and I'm gonna cut till 0 to 37. If at all it's less than that, and apart from this I'm gonna add the 3 dots, and if at all it's less than 40, then just show whatever that description is. So I'm gonna say item dot description. Okay, so yep, that's it. So save the file. So as you can see, that's looking good. So now after that, we're gonna show basically the image. So for that, again, I'm gonna initialize one more view or pressable. So this is the first view, and this is for the descriptions, and this is for the image. So let's initialize image, import it from React Native. This in turn is gonna take in the source, and it's gonna take in the URI, of course. It's gonna be item.image to access the URI. Let's give some style to it so that we can see it on the screen. So width of 120 and a height of 120, and we're gonna give it a slight border radius of, let's say, 8, and then I'm gonna save the file. Okay, so it, as you can see, it's going towards the rightmost part of the screen. So now let's give a particular width to the text so that it comes into position. So I'm gonna say style over here for the text, for the description. So I'm gonna say width of 100, and I'm gonna give it a slight margin top. Margin top of 8, and I'm gonna give it a color of gray, and a font size of, let's say, 16. Okay, so as you can see, that's looking better. So let's format once, and let's see why it's not taking up the entire space. Yeah, actually we could give 200, but okay, my bad. Over here we're not even checking the length, we're just checking if item dot description is greater than 40. So here we need to check if the item dot description dot length is greater than 40. Okay, so I think now 100 should work, or let's go for 200 itself. Yeah, I think that's looking fine. Alright, so now we're gonna style the remaining part of the text that's gonna contain, that's gonna have the name and the price. So for this, I'm gonna give style, a font size of 18, and a font weight of 600, and it's gonna have a width of 200 or 220. Yep, that's looking fine. So now we're gonna style the next part. So I'm gonna say style. So it's gonna have a margin top of 4, and it's gonna have a font size of 15, and it's gonna have a font weight of 500. Yep, I think that's looking good. Okay, so as you can see, we're able to see rise as well as recommended. So yeah, I think we forgot to style this part, that is recommended and the rise, the text part of it. So let's head over to the food item, and over here I'm gonna pass in the style for this, basically a font size of 19 and a font weight of bold. Okay, yep, that's looking fine. So yeah, let's head back to the menu item, and the final thing we're going to look into is we have everything set up. We have to design the add button that's going to come over here. Yeah, so before designing the add button, let's give some margin right to this, to the pressable. It's almost touching the right part of the screen. So I'm going to say style, and I'm going to say margin right of 15 or 10. Yep, that's looking fine. So below the image, I'm going to initialize my pressable, and this is going to have a text which says add. So save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see that. So now let's give the style to the pressable. So basically I'm going to give it a position of absolute. So position of absolute, and I'm going to give it a top value of 95, and it's going to have a left of 20. It's going to have a border color of this color code, that is E32636. And apart from that, we're going to give it a border width of 1, and we're going to give it a flex direction of row, some padding horizontal of 25, and padding vertical as well. Let's say padding vertical of 5, align items of center, and we're going to give it a background color. I don't think this is required, so let's try this out. White, and border radius of 5. So save the file. So yeah, I think that's looking okay. Yeah, so after styling for the pressable, we're going to style the text. So here I'm going to say style. So I'm going to give it a font size of 18, and I'm going to give it a font weight of 600. Color of this color code, that is FD5C63. Okay, so as you can see, that's looking really good. Okay, so now we have set up the menu for all the hotels. So let's reload the app once. Okay, so as you can see, if you go to any hotel, it's going to show up the same menu, and we can go back as well. Okay, so now this part is working absolutely fine. So now the next step we'll be looking into is we're gonna initialize Redux into the system. So we're gonna download Redux toolkit, and after that we're gonna initialize our cart reducer, and then define some reducers to add item into the cart, remove item into the cart, and increment quantity as well as decrement quantity as well. So now let's head over to Chrome and then install the dependencies required for Redux toolkit. So I'm going to search for Redux toolkit and go to the first link, and I'm going to press on get started, and we're going to install basically with the help of yarn. So copy this piece of code, and let's come to the terminal, and we're going to paste it over here. And apart from Redux toolkit, we also want React Redux as well, so copy that also, and once this gets installed, we're going to paste it over here. Okay, so now after these two gets installed, first of all I'm going to open up my file tree and then create a Redux folder at the root level. So I'm going to say Redux, and inside Redux I'm going to create my first reducer. That's going to be the cart reducer.js. Just like this, I'm going to say rnfes to get the shorthand snippet and save the file. So I don't think we require this kind of format. So firstly, let's start defining the cart reducer. So first of all, I'm going to import my create slice method from Redux toolkit. Okay, and here I'm going to say export const cart slice. So export const cart slice equals to, we're going to apply the create slice. So this in turn is going to take in three things, that is the name, the initial state, and the reducers. So here name, in this case I'm going to give it as cart, and we're going to pass in the initial state, which is going to be in the form of an object, and we're going to write cart. So since we are building a cart system, we can have n number of items. So for that reason I'm providing an empty array at the initial state, as you can see. So after that we're going to pass in the reducers. This also is in the form of an object. So we're going to define the first one, that is add to cart. So this in turn is going to take in two things, that is the state and the action. So first of all, we're going to check if at all any kind of particular item is already present inside of the cart, and if at all it's present inside of the cart, then that means if we press on the add button, then we should simply increase the quantity, else we should add that item into the cart. So first of all, I'm going to say const item present equals to, I'm going to access the state and I'm going to access the cart array, and I'm going to apply the find method to it, that is built-in JavaScript method. So for every item, I'm going to check this condition, that is if at all the item.id equals to the action.payload.id. okay, so if this is true, then that means a particular item is already present inside of the cart. So here I'm going to say if at all the item is present, then I'm going to say item present dot quantity plus plus. Okay, else it goes into the else condition if at all we are adding any kind of item for the first time, right? That means there is no kind of item present inside of the cart. That means our cart is empty. So here I'm going to say state.cart, we have the push method. I'm going to apply the push method. I'm going to say include whatever is there inside of the action.payload that we give while dispatching, and apart from that initialize the quantity of 1 for that particular food item. Okay, so that's it about the add to cart functionality. So now let's move to the next one, that is remove from cart. So this in turn is going to take in again the same thing, that is the state and the action. And over here, first of all, I'm going to say const remove item. So here we'll be making use of the filter method to remove item from the cart. So I'm going to say const remove item equals to access the cart. So I'm going to say state.cart dot apply the filter method. So for every item, the item.id should not be equal to the action.payload.id. okay, so based on this, we're going to just remove the item from the cart. So after doing this, I'm just going to say state.cart equals to remove item. So we're going to return basically the items that are filtered out from the cart after checking this condition that we have given. So that's it about the remove from cart functionality. So the next thing we'll be looking into is increment quantity. So here I'm going to say increment quantity. So this in turn is going to take in the state as well as the action. Okay, so here again I'm going to say const item present equals to state.cart.apply the find method. It's going to be the exact same thing that we've done previously. So here I'm going to check if at all the item.id equals to the action.payload.id. So if this is the case, then that means we can just increase the quantity of the item. So I'm going to say item present dot quantity plus plus. That's it. And we're going to go to the next one, that is decrement quantity. So I'm going to say decrement quantity. So it's going to take in, of course, the state and the action. So here also again we're going to copy the first piece of code, that is item present. So here we're going to check if at all the item present dot quantity is equals to 1. So I'm going to say if at all the quantity equals to 1, and if at all you press on the minus button, so decrement quantity is applied for the minus button and increment quantity is applied for, of course, the plus button. So over here in the minus button, if you press on it, and if at all the item quantity is equals to 1, and if you press on the minus button, then in that case we should just remove that particular item from the cart and again show the add button over here. And if at all the quantity is, let's say more than 1, let's say 2, 3 or even 5, and if you press on the minus button, then in that case we should just decrease the quantity of the item by 1. So in this case, if it's 1, I'm just going to copy the same thing that I've done in the remove from cart. Okay, because we need to perform the same functionality when the quantity is equals to 1. Else if it is greater than 1, I'm just going to write item present dot quantity minus that means just decrease it by 1. So that's it. And now we have the final one, that is clean cart. So this in turn is just going to take in the state, and here I'm going to write state.cart is going to be empty. So this is going to get used when we dispatch or place order for a particular set of items. So save the file. So now at the bottom part of the page, we're going to export the required values. So I'm going to say export const add to cart remove from cart, increment quantity, and then decrement quantity, and then clean cart equals to cart slice dot actions. And we're gonna export the default reducer as well. I'm gonna say export default cart slice dot reducer. So now I'm just going to create the main store where all of the data resides. So I'm just going to go to my file tree at the root level. So press on app.js, new file, I'm going to say store.js. So rnfes to get the Sujan snippet. So save the file. So here I'm going to import my method, that is configure store. That's going to come from redux toolkit. Okay, and here I'm going to write export default configure store. So this in turn is going to take in basically the reducers. So we have the first reducer. So towards the left hand side, we're going to give the name. In my case, I'm going to give cart, and we're going to import the cart reducer file from the redux folder, just like this. So that's the way we have configured this. So now we need to include something known as the provider. That's going to happen inside of the layout.js for the home directory over here. So here we're going to initialize our provider. That's going to come from React Redux, and put all of the stack inside of the provider. So we get access to each and everything inside of the Redux. That is whatever we have defined. So this is basically going to take in the store value. So I'm going to say store equals to store. Let's import store from the store file. Just like this, and we're going to save the file. So hopefully no error should occur. Let's give it some time. Okay, so as you can see, everything is working fine. So now the next step is we're going to initialize the on press event on this particular add button, and if at all we press on add, we're going to dispatch some actions, that is add to cart, and after that we're going to show the quantity at the center part with the buttons, that is minus button and the plus button, coming towards the left and right parts. Okay, and again we're going to dispatch some more actions, that is increment quantity and then decrement quantity. So now let's head over to the menu item component and then dispatch some actions. So before that, I'm going to initialize some state, that is for the quantity part of it, and whether or not a particular add button is selected or not. So to do that, I'm going to say const add items. We have done this in the previous project, so we're just going to follow the same methods, right? So here I'm going to say add items comma set add items equals to use state. So initially it's going to be 0. So apart from the add items, I'm going to need access to one more variable, that is going to be selected. So I'm going to say const selected comma set selected equals to use state, and I'm going to pass initially a value of false. Okay, so now I'm going to initialize my dispatch. So I'm going to say const dispatch equals to use dispatch, just like this. And first of all, we're going to initialize a on press event on the add button over here. So here I'm going to say on press. So first of all, here I'm going to make sure the braces, and here I'm going to say set selected to be true. Okay, that means it is pressed, and here I'm going to say if add items equals to 0, then I'm going to say set add items to be whatever the current value is, just increase it by 1. That is, we're just going to increase the quantity by 1. And after that, we are going to dispatch the action, that is add to cart, that we have written previously. So I'm going to say dispatch add to cart. It's going to come from the cart reducer file, and it's going to take in the payload. That's going to be the item. It's going to come from the props itself for that particular item, whichever we are pressing on, right? So yeah, save the file. So now if at all it's selected, we're going to show some different UI. I'm just going to paste the code for that. So we're going to write in the form of a condition, that is if at all it's selected, then we're going to show the plus minus button and the quantity. If at all it's not selected, then of course we're going to show the add button itself. So copy that and paste it over here. And if at all it is not, if at all it is selected, we're going to paste this piece of code. Okay, so you can check that out from the start. So if it is selected, we're going to initialize the outer pressable with this styling. It's going to be similar to the previous one, that is add button, and inside that we have 3 pressables. One, this for the minus button, this is for the plus button, and we are going to render the add items. This is for the quantity. where we're going to render the add items, and this is for the plus button where we're going to render the plus button over here inside of the text. So again, for this one, we are going to check if at all add items equals to 1. Then we're going to dispatch remove from cart. Let's import that over here. Okay, so here it's going to be item. Else, if at all the quantity is greater than 1, let's say if it's 2, 3, or even 4, then we're gonna dispatch decrement quantity and decrease the quantity by 1. And over here we are also decreasing the quantity by 1 so that it gets reflected in the UI as well. And over here we're just going to show the add items, that is whatever the current quantity is after pressing on the minus button or the plus button. So here for the plus button, again we're gonna first of all set add items to C of C plus 1, means we're just increasing the quantity by 1. And here we're again going to dispatch increment quantity function, and we're going to pass in basically the item whatever is that. So save the file. So as soon as I press on the add button, it's going to go into the cart reducer. It's going to go over here. First of all, on press set selected to be true, then again it's going to check this. Okay, so after this gets executed, it's going to check if add items equals 0. Yes, it's 0. So we're going to increase it to 1, because it's going to go from 0 to 1. And then we're going to dispatch add to cart of item. So that means it's going to go to the cart reducer. So after coming to add to cart, it's automatically going to go into basically the else condition, because this condition does not hold true because there are 0 items present inside of the cart. So here basically we're going to try to push the action.payload and initialize the quantity of 1. Right, so let's go back over here, that is menu item. So as soon as this gets dispatched, again there is a state update happening. So for that reason, again it's gonna check if at all it's selected, which is true in this case. So that means we're gonna show the minus button, the quantity, the current quantity, which is 1, because it has transitioned from 0 to 1. And over here we're gonna show the plus button. So let's give this a try. Okay, so I'm just gonna press on the add button for the first item. So as you can see, this particular item has been added to the cart and the quantity is 1 for this. So just to check the correct output, I'm going to go to my, let's say, hotel.js, and here at the top I'm just going to console.log my cart. So firstly let's access the cart. So I'm going to say const cart equals to use selector. Okay, so access basically the state. Here I'm going to say state.cart.cart. So here I'm going to say console.log of cart. So we've written state.cart.cart because the reducer name, and to access the cart inside of the initial state, which is in the form of an object, I'm going to say again .cart. So let's save the file. So as you can see, we have one item inside of a cart. Okay, that is this one, and the quantity is initialized to 1. That is over here. Okay, so it's working absolutely fine. So let's give this one more try. I'm going to reload the app and then start it off once again. So as you can see, now we have 2 items inside of the cart. So now let's press on the plus button. So automatically the quantity should increase to 2. The same thing should be reflected over here as well in the console if you check it out. So again, so currently now the quantity is 1. If I press on it, it should dispatch the remove from cart action, and it should automatically show the add button again. Okay, so as you can see, that's working absolutely fine. And finally our cart array is empty in the console. So yeah, this part is working absolutely fine. So now the next thing we'll be looking into is, if at all there are any items present inside of the cart, then at the bottom we're going to show that button which says these many items are added to the cart, and if you press on that button, you should be navigated to the next screen. And apart from that, we're also going to show the sub menus at the bottom, so that if you press on that, you can scroll to that particular sub menu and view the items present inside of the sub menu. So again, I'm going to add some items to the cart, and then based on this, we're going to render the UI at the bottom part by applying a condition. So before that, I'm going to make use of my fragments, because this is going to come right below the scroll view. So we're going to paste this over here, and after the scroll view, I'm going to write the condition, that is, if at all the cart.length is greater than 0, then only we're going to render this particular UI. So for that, I'm going to initialize my pressable, import that from React Native, and inside this pressable, first of all, we're going to have a text attribute which is going to say cart.items, not items, cart.length items added. Okay, and yeah, let's give the style for this. So I'm gonna give style. So basically it's gonna have a text align of center, and we're gonna give it a color of white, a font size of let's say 16 or 15, and a font weight of 500. Okay, so I'm going to render the next part of the text as well. That's going to come below this. So here I'm going to say text. So here we're going to say add items worth 240 to reduce fee by piece 35. Okay, something like this for the UI part, and we're gonna design the pressable over here, give it a red color background. So here I'm going to say background color, it's going to be FD5 C63, and we're going to give it some internal spacing, that is a padding horizontal of 10, and we're going to give it a padding vertical also of 10, and we're going to give it a justify of center and align items of center, just like this. So yeah, let's reload the app once, and then hopefully we should be seeing the correct results. So let's save the file. Let's also give the style for the second text. So here also I'm gonna say text align of center, and we're gonna give it a color of white, a slight margin top of let's say 5, and then a font weight of 600, and save the file. So let's go to the first one, and then we're gonna add some items to the cart. So as you can see, as soon as I added the items, you're able to see that button coming at the bottom part. Okay, so that's looking good. So now I think let's make this also 600, the font weight of the first text. Okay, yeah, that's looking nice. So now the next step we'll be looking into is we're going to initialize a view that is just below the scroll view, and then show all of the sub menus present. So I'm going to say view over here, and over here basically we're going to give it some styling. So I'm going to say style, a flex direction of row. Okay, and we're going to make use of the background color of white. So here I'm going to map over my menu. So I'm going to say menu.map. For every item and index, we're going to initialize a pressable for this, and inside the pressable we're just going to show the text, that is the name of the sub menu. So here to access the name, it's going to be item.name. You can check out the menu array. Okay, so let's give the style for the pressable. So style over here, basically we're going to give it some padding horizontal of 7, and we're going to give it a padding vertical, all related to the internal spacing. So padding vertical of 5, and then we're going to give it some margin vertical as well, margin vertical of 10, margin horizontal also of 10, and we're going to give it some align items of center. Okay, and we're going to give it justify content of center as well, and we're going to give it a border color of this color code and a slight border width. So save the file, format it once, and save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see that on the screen. Okay, that is recommended and then rise. So now for the next step is, I think we need to give some, yeah, I think the padding horizontal is not given correctly. So padding horizontal of 7, and let's give it a slight border radius as well, border radius of 4. Yeah, I think that's looking fine. So now if at all we press on that, we're going to scroll to that particular sub menu, considering the number of items present inside of that particular sub menu. So here I'm going to say on press. So here it's going to take in basically a function, and here I'm going to initialize a function. I'm going to say scroll to category of the index. So based on the index, we're going to scroll to that particular category. So over here, firstly I'm going to initialize my reference. So I'm going to say const scroll view ref equals to, we're going to make use of the use ref hook, import that from React. So initially it will be pointing to null, so I'm going to pass in null for the use ref, and we are also going to initialize our animation. So I'm going to say const scroll animation equals to use ref. Here I'm going to say new animated, import animated from React Native. We're going to access the value, so new animated dot value of 0 and give me the current value of it. Alright, so now we're going to give the reference for the entire scroll view because we are scrolling over here itself. So reference is going to be the scroll view reference, that is this one. Okay, so now we're going to initialize the function, that is const scroll to category equals to, it's going to take in the index value, that is whatever we are pressing on. And here I'm going to say first of all const y offset equals to index multiplied by, we are going to initialize a constant value for now, considering we only have 4 items for a particular sub menu. So here I'm going to say const item height equals to, so we could give, let's say, around 600 or 650 for this. Okay, so the y offset is going to be index multiplied by the item height. And after that I'm going to say animated, we have the timing method to which we are going to pass the scroll animation. And here we're going to define some options, that is the to value. So to value is going to be of course the y offset, and we're going to pass in the duration. I'm going to pass in 500 for now, and I'm going to say use native driver to be true. And after doing this we're going to apply the start method so that we can see the animation work. And after that we're going to say the scroll view ref dot current, we have the scroll to method, so I'm going to say scroll to, it's basically going to take in the y value because we're going to scroll in the vertical direction. So I'm going to say y offset, that's going to be the value. And to see the animation we're going to pass in animated value, it's going to be true. So hopefully if you have done everything correctly we should be seeing the animation work. So let's press on, let's say, rise over here. So as you can see we are going to the rise, and recommended it's going to go back to the recommended. If you press on recommended it's going to stay there itself because we are in the correct position. Okay, so as you can see that's working absolutely fine. So now the next step we'll be looking into is we're going to show that menu, and we're going to first of all initialize the design, and if at all you press on that we're going to show all of the sub menus towards the left hand side, and towards the right hand side we're going to make use, I mean we're going to show how many items are present inside of that particular sub menu. So for that we're going to install a dependency, that is React Native model. So I'm going to open up my terminal and I'm going to say yarn add React Native model. So yeah, let's install this dependency, and we're going to show that design right after this particular view. Okay, so here I'm going to say pressable. So this is going to take in basically a food icon. So let's go over here to the icons, and I'm going to search for md fast food outline, this one. So I imported from ion icons. I think ion icons is already imported, so just copy the render component code, and we're gonna paste it over here. Okay, and apart from that we're gonna initialize a text field which says menu. So let's start styling this out. So for the menu, first of all I'm gonna give the style, so it's gonna have basically a text align of center. So text align of center, and it's gonna have a color of white. Alright, and apart from that we're gonna give it a font weight of 500, and we're gonna give it, let's say, a font size of 11 and a slight margin top, so margin top of 3. Okay, and for the iron icons I'm gonna say style text align of center, and I'm gonna give it a color of white for this. So now we're gonna position this absolutely, that is for the pressable. So I'm gonna say style over here, and first of all we're gonna give it a specific width and height. So I'm gonna say width of, let's say, 60, height of 60 as well, and we're gonna give it border radius of 30 to make it look exactly circular, and we're gonna give basically justify content of center and align items of center as well. Okay, so let's format once. Yeah, so apart from this, we're gonna give it a position of absolute, and we're going to give it a right value of 25, and we're going to say bottom. So here we're going to apply the condition, that is if at all the card dot length is greater than 0, then we're going to give it a higher value, that's going to be 70 in this case, else we're going to keep it to be 35 only. Yeah, so I think that's it. Let's save the file. Okay, you're not able to see anything. Yeah, I think we're able to see that it's there over here, as you can see. So let's give the background color for this. So background color is gonna be black. Okay, so save the file. Yeah, so as you can see, you're able to see that menu being shown on the screen. Okay, so yeah, that's looking fine. So now if at all you press on that, we're gonna initialize the model and show the model. So first of all, let's initialize our state for the model, if at all it's visible or not. So here I'm gonna say const model visible, comma set model visible equals to use state, and of course initially it's going to be in the false state, it's not visible. So now we're just going to define the model at the bottom part. So before that, we're going to initialize on press event on the menu button, that is over here. So on press, it's going to take in a function, and here we're going to say set the model visible to be the opposite of model visible. So if it's false, make it true. If it's true, make it false. All right. Okay, use state does not exist. So let's import use state from React, and we're going to reload the app. Yeah, so now we are going to initialize basically the model at the bottom part of the page. We can define it after this one. So import model from React Native model, not from React Native. So just like this. Okay, and we're going to start defining the model over here. Now we can define it anywhere actually. So based on whatever the state of the model is, it's going to show up. It's going to open or close. So over here for the model, I'm going to say is visible is going to be model visible, and we're going to say on backdrop press. We're just going to say set the model visible to be the opposite of model visible. That is, if it's true, make it false. If it's false, make it true. So here we're going to initialize our view first of all, and over here we're going to map over the menu. So I'm going to say menu dot map. So for every item and the index, we're going to return a view. Alright, so inside this view basically we're going to have two text fields. One is to show the name of the submenu, so I'm going to say item.name, and towards the right hand side we're going to show the number of items under that particular submenu. So again, one more text. So inside this text, we've already done this previously. To access the length, it's going to be item dot, we have the items array over here, as you can see, and we're going to access the length just like this. And yeah, so apart from that, we're going to style the view now. So I'm going to say style over here. So it's going to have some internal spacing, a padding of 10, and it's going to have a flex direction of row, align items of center, and we're going to give it a justify content of space between. And for the text, we're going to give it a different color. So here I'm going to say style. Okay, so color is going to be basically D0, 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 and it's going to have a specific font weight of, let's say, 600, and it's going to have a font size of 10. So I'm going to copy down the same piece of styling for the next one as well over here. So copy that, and we're going to paste it over here. So yeah, we could save the file, and yeah, so we're going to style the outermost view and give it a background color of black. So we're going to have a specific height of, let's say, 190 or 200. Let's give it 190 for now, and we're going to give it a specific width as well, that is 250, and we're going to give it a background color of black, not white, and we're going to make it a position of absolute. Okay, we're going to give it a bottom value of 35 and a right value of 10. We're going to give it some border radius as well, so border radius of 7, and we're going to save the file. So below this I'm going to get the image, that is after we are mapping through all of the food items present, I mean the sub menus, we're going to show the image over here. So I've just pasted down the image. I'll be sending the image link in the description, you can check that out. And this is the style for the image: width of 120, height of 70, and resize mode of contain. So make sure you import image from React Native and save the file. So now let's give this a try. Let's press on menu. So if you press on menu, this is going to get triggered off. That is an on press event, and we are going to set the model visible to be true. And over here, since the model visible is set to be true, we're going to show all of this contents present. So let's give that a try. So as you can see, we have recommended and then we have price. So I think let's increase the font size. It's looking really small. So font size, let's keep it to be 18. Over here also 18. Yeah, so as you can see, that's looking good. If you press on the outside of it, the on backdrop is gonna get triggered off that we have given for the model. That is this one, on backdrop press, and we're gonna set the model to be false. Just like that, that's working fine. So let's add some items into the cart. Okay, so now if at all you press on this, we're gonna create a new screen, and then we're gonna initialize the cart screen, and then we're gonna show all of the items in the cart and then design some UI over there. So now I'm just going to open up my file tree and then create a new screen inside of my home directory. That's going to be cart.js. So I'm going to write rnfes to get the shorthand snippet and then save the file. And we're going to include this particular screen into our layout over here. So this is going to be cart. Okay, and save the file. Let's reload the app and start it off from the first. And we're going to initialize on press event if at all we have some items inside of the cart. So we're going to initialize on press event on this particular pressable that we have. So I'm just going to scroll down, that is over here, and I'm going to say on press router.push. The path name is going to be /cart, and we're going to pass in the hotel name to the next screen. That's going to be params.name. Okay, user route is already initialized and params is also already initialized. So let's save the file and go to the next screen over here. So as you can see, we're coming correctly to the cart screen. So now inside the cart screen, we're going to start initializing the design. So I'm gonna import scroll view first from React Native. So here, instead of the normal view, I'm gonna make use of my scroll view. Alright, so inside that, we're going to initialize one more view over here. So this is basically going to have the back icon so that we can go back to the previous page. Okay, so here I'm going to say back. So I'm going to use this one from Ion Icons. So firstly, let's import the icon family and copy the render component code, and we're going to paste it over here. Okay, and for the view, let's give some styling. So apart from this, we're going to have a text field which is going to show us the name of the hotel. So first of all, let's initialize our params. So I'm going to say const params equals to use local search params, import that from Expo Router. Here I'm going to say params.name. So save the file. So as you can see, this is the hotel name and this is the icon. So for the scroll view, let's give some styling. So I'm going to say style. First of all, a padding of 10, a flex of 1, and a background color of this color code. That is F0, F8, FF. Okay, and for the view, I'm going to give the style. So basically, I'm going to give it a flex direction of row, align items of center, and a gap of, let's say, 8. And I'm going to save the file. So as you can see, that's looking better. So now after that, we're going to have one more piece of view that's going to come just beneath this. So this is basically going to have a text, okay, which says delivery in. I'm going to have one more text over here. We're going to say 35 to say 40 minutes, something like this. And for this, I'm going to give specifically the style. So I'm going to say font weight of 500. Okay, and apart from that, we're going to target the view over here. So I'm going to say style. So I'm going to give it a background color of white, and we're going to give it some internal spacing, that is padding of 8, and we're going to give it some margin top of let's say 15, and we're going to give it a border radius value. So border radius, I'm going to give it as 8, and we're going to save the file. So as you can see, that's looking nice. So now if you're going to look into the next part of the design, that is we're going to have one more view that's going to come over here, and here basically we're going to say style. First of all, let's give it some margin vertical. So I'm going to say margin vertical of 12, and inside the view, okay, we're going to have basically a text attribute. So I'm going to say text over here. So here I'm going to write items added. So for the text, let's give the style over here. So first of all, I'm going to give it a text align of center, and I'm going to give it a letter spacing of let's say 3, a particular font size to it 15, and a color of gray. So let's format once and save the file. So as you can see, it's looking good. So now after that view, we're going to initialize our view, and we're going to first of all access the cart and then map over it to show all of the cart items. So I'm going to say const cart equals to use selector, import that from React Redux, access the state in it, and to access the cart, it's going to be state dot the reducer name, that's cart we've given in the store file, and again dot cart to access the cart array inside of the initial state, that is in the form of an object. So we have access to the cart. Let's map over it. So first of all, I'm going to initialize my view, and here I'm going to say cart dot map. So for every item and the index, I'm going to return let's say a pressable value, import that from React Native, and inside the pressable, I'm going to initialize one more view over here, and inside the view, the first thing is going to be is the item dot name to show the name of the item. So save the file. So as you can see, we have 2 items inside of a cart. So here let's give the key to this as index, and apart from the text, now I'm just going to copy down the design for the pressable. That's going to contain basically the minus button, the quantity, and the plus button. So just pasted the code for the pressable. So it's going to be the same thing that we have done in the previous screen while designing the menu. So again, we have auto pressable with this particular styling and back and border color and the other styles, as you can see. And again, inside this we have 3 pressables: the minus button, the quantity, and then the plus button. Okay, so for each of the pressables, we are targeting the a minus button or the quantity and the plus button. So for the minus button, we're going to dispatch in decrement quantity, and for the plus button, we're going to dispatch increment quantity. And in the place of quantity, we have the quantity present inside of the cart array. So I'm just going to access that with the help of item.quantity. And this is the styles given for all of the remaining ones. Okay, so yeah, let us initialize our dispatch. So I'm going to say const dispatch equals to use dispatch. So import that from React Redux, and let's also import the required things, that is decrement quantity from the cart reducer file as well as increment quantity from the cart reducer file. So I think that's it. Let's save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see that on the screen. So now let's style it out, or let us initialize one more view that's going to come just below the below this view, that is over here. So I'm going to say view over here. So here this is going to basically contain 2 texts. So here I'm going to say item.price is going to get multiplied with the item.quantity. So item.quantity, and below this again we're going to show the quantity just to fill up the UI. So here I'm going to say quantity is going to be item.quantity. So save the file. So as you can see, that's looking better. So now we're going to style out the entire thing. So first of all, let's target the pressable. So I'm going to say style over here. I'm going to give it a background color of white and a padding of 10. And for the first view, let's give the style. So I'm going to give a flex direction of row, align items of center, and we're going to give it justify content of space between and a margin vertical as well. So here I'm going to say margin vertical of 5 or 6, and we're going to save the file. So as you can see, that's looking good. So now for the item.name, let's give the style for this. So I'm going to say style. We're going to give it a specific width of 200 so that it doesn't overflow, and I'm going to give it a font size of 16 and a font weight of 600 for this. Save the file. And for the next piece of design, that is for the next view that we have, we're going to give the style for that as well, this one. So I'm going to say flex direction of row, align items of center, and we're going to give it justify content of space between, and we're going to also target the styles for the text inside the view. So I'm going to say style over here. So basically I'm going to give it a font size of 16 and font weight of bold. So for this one I'm going to say font size of 15 and a font weight of 500. Save the file. So as you can see, that's looking good. So let's just insert the rupee symbol over there. That's going to be over here. Okay, yep, that's looking good. So now if this part is done, so now the next step we'll be looking into is we're going to design the next part, that is showing the delivery instructions. So I'm going to initialize the view over here, and I'm going to give it firstly the margin vertical of, let's say, 10, and inside this we're going to show a design. So I'm going to say text. So this text we're going to say delivery instructions, something like this. So delivery instructions, and we're going to give the style for the delivery instructions. So I'm going to say style over here. It's going to have a specific font size of 16 and a font weight of 600. Okay, and below this we're going to actually initialize a scroll view, and then I'm going to get the data for that. So firstly let's initialize our scroll view, and then I'm going to get the data for the instructions. So I've just pasted the instructions array over here. Again, it's an array of object with the unique ID, the name that we're using, and the icon name. So with the help of this information, we are going to design the instructions part of it. So for the scroll view, first of all, let's give some props to it. So I'm going to say horizontal, and I'm going to say show horizontal scroll indicator, and I'm going to set it to be false. All right, so inside the scroll view, let's map over the instructions that we have. So I'm going to say instructions dot map. So for every item and the index, I'm going to return, let's say, a pressable over here. So inside the pressable, I'm going to initialize my view, and inside the view we're going to have the font awesome 5 icons. So for this, the name is going to be item.icon name. Okay, and size is going to be 22, and color is going to be gray. Let's make sure you import font awesome 5 icons just like this, and let's save the file. So as you can see, we have all of the icons based on our instructions array. So yeah, below that font awesome 5, we're going to initialize a text field. So I'm going to say text over here. So this is basically going to target the item dot name. Okay, yep, that's looking good. So now let's target the pressable and give the style for this. So I'm going to give it some external spacing, that is margin of 10 and a border radius of 10, some internal spacing, padding of 10, and a background color of white. Okay, so as you can see, that's looking better. So now for the view, we're going to make it look we're going to make it come to the center part, that is for the entire container. So I'm going to say justify content of center, and then align items of center. Yep, that's looking fine. So now we're going to target basically the text that we have. So I'm going to say style over here. So style, we're going to say width of 75, font size of 13, and we're going to give it a specific color of, let's say, 3838 and then 38. A bit of padding top, So I'm going to give it a padding top of 10, and of course text align of center. So as you can see, that's looking good, and we're able to scroll through all of the delivery instructions, right? So now the next step we'll be looking into is the next part of the design that's gonna come just after this particular view. So I'm gonna initialize one more view over here. So here I'm gonna initialize one more view inside that view, and over here we're gonna initialize one more view which is gonna contain basically the icon. So it's gonna be the plus circle icon. So I'm gonna go over here and then search for plus circle, just like this, and we're gonna make use of, let's say, from feather. Okay, so copy the render component code, and we're gonna scroll down and we're gonna paste it over here, and below this we're gonna initialize a text which says add more items. And after the view, we are going to initialize one more icon, that is the right icon, that's going to come towards the rightmost part. So I'm going to search for right over here. So we're going to make use of this one from and design. So copy the icon family first, and design over here. Okay, and we're going to copy the render component code, and we're going to paste it. We're going to scroll down and we're going to paste it over here. And let's give the style for the outermost view. So I'm going to say style over here. First of all, I'm going to give it a flex direction of row, align items of center, and we're going to give it justify content of space between, and we're going to give it a background color of white, and we're going to give it some padding vertical. So I'm going to say padding vertical of 10 and padding horizontal of 10 as well. Alright, and for the second view also we're going to give the style that contains the icon and the text. So I'm going to say style. So first of all, I'm going to say flex direction of row, align items of center, and we're going to say gap of 10 or 6. Okay, so save the file. So as you can see, that's looking good. So let us decrease the size of this to be 20. So I'm just going to copy down this a couple of times, and then we're going to later make the change for the remaining designs. So copy this one more time and one more time. So save the file. Yeah, so for the second one, we're going to make the change for the icon first. So it's going to be the new message icon. So I'm going to say new message. So first of all, let's import the icon family over here. So I'm just going to copy that down like this. Copy the render component code. Scroll down, and we're gonna paste it over here, and we're gonna change the text as well. So here we're gonna say add more cooking instructions. Okay, and yep, we're gonna save the file. Okay, so now let's make the change for the third one as well. So over here also, that's correct, it's 20 itself. So the third one, we're gonna make the change for the material, for the icon, that's gonna be from material community icons. So we're gonna make use of this one. So let's copy the import code, and we're gonna paste it at the top of the page, and copy the render component code, and we're gonna paste it instead of the feather icon over here, just like this. And over here we're going to change the text as well. So here we're going to say with this order, and save the file. Yep, that's looking good. So now let's move into the next part of the design that's going to come over here. So view. So here I'm going to say working towards, or we could write this afterwards. First of all, let's initialize another view over here. So I'm going to say view over here, and this in turn is going to take in again one more view, which in turn is going to take in a text. Is going to say like this, and apart from the text, we're going to have the icon towards the right. So we're going to make use of the check square icon, that is this one. So first of all, from and design, and design is already imported. So copy the render component code and we're gonna paste it after the view over here. Okay, so for this view, let's give the style over here. So I'm gonna say flex direction of row, align items of center, and we're gonna give a justify content of space between. So let's change the color of this particular icon. So I'm gonna make it FD5C and then 63. So save the file. So as you can see, that's looking good. So now we're gonna target the outermost view and we're gonna give the style for it, and that is this one or this one, I believe. So we're gonna give it, let's say, a padding of 10, and we're gonna give it, let's say, a background color as well of white and some margin vertical. Okay, yep, that's looking good. And yep, so apart from that, after this view, we're gonna initialize one more view over here, and I'm gonna put in the text inside this particular view. So this text is gonna say this thing. Okay, save the file. And apart from the text, we're gonna have one more text with the price being shown, and we're gonna give the style for the view that is gonna contain two texts, the first one and the second one. So here I'm gonna say flex direction of a row, align items of center, and we're gonna give a justify content of space between and a margin top of, let's say, 10. Okay, and I'm gonna save the file. So yeah, for this text, I'm gonna give the style. So I'm gonna say style. It's gonna have a color of gray. Yep, that's looking fine. So yeah, this part is done. So the final thing is we're gonna show the required billing details. So I'm gonna initialize my view over here, and inside the view, first of all, let's give some margin vertical to the view. So I'm gonna target with the help of style. So I'm gonna say margin vertical of, let's say, 10, and inside this I'm gonna initialize my text, which is gonna say billing details. So I'm gonna say billing details. So target the style over here, and we're gonna give it a font size of 16, and I'm gonna give it a font weight of bold. Save the file. Yeah, so as you can see, that's looking good. So yeah, beneath the text, I'm gonna initialize my view. So here basically we're gonna have one more view inside this. So this is gonna have the text which says item total over here, and apart from that, we're gonna render the total over here. So let us firstly calculate the total. We have access to the cart, so I'm gonna say const total equals to, first of all, cart.map. So for every item, I just want to multiply the item.quantity multiplied by that item.price. So this will give for one product. So since we have n number of products, we're gonna apply the reduce method to this, which is gonna take in the current and the previous value. Okay, so in this case, I'm just gonna say add the current and the previous, and we need to pass the initial value of that's the sum. Initially, I'm gonna pass it as 0. So yep, that's it. So if you want, you can console.log the total and check if at all we're getting the correct result. So console.log of total and save the file. So as you can see, 560 is the total. I think 275 plus 285 is gonna be 560. So that is coming correct. So over here, we're gonna just render the total. So I'm gonna say total. So let's give the style for this particular view. So I'm gonna say style. So over here, I'm gonna give it a flex direction of row, align items of center, and I'm gonna give it a justify content of space between. Okay, so justify content of space between, and we're gonna style both the text as well. So style over here, font size is gonna be 15 for this one, and I'm gonna give it a font weight of 400, and I'm gonna give it a specific color, that is this color code 505050, and we're gonna give the style for this. So style, font size is gonna be 15, and font weight is gonna be 400, and again we are going to make use of the same color 505050. Save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see that coming on the screen. Yep, so now we're gonna make it look in the background color, that is basically white background. So target the view over here, and I'm gonna give the style for this. Basically we're gonna give it a background color of white, and we're gonna give it a border radius of 7 and some internal spacing, that is padding of 10, and we're gonna give it a margin top of 15. Okay, so as you can see, you're able to see that white background being applied. So now after this we're going to show the delivery fee. So just copy this a couple of times. So we're going to just change the details for this. So here we're going to make use of, let's say, the value. Save the file. Yeah, that's looking better. So for this we're going to give the margin vertical. So I'm going to say margin vertical of 8 and save the file. Yeah, so as you can see, that's looking good. So again we're going to copy down this one more time. Okay, save the file. Yeah, so that's looking fine. So I think we could remove the margin vertical because we've given it for the previous one. So save the file. Yeah, that's looking nice. So now the final one is we're gonna just show one more view where we're gonna show the payment and the total amount that is to be paid, right? So I'm gonna say view over here. This in turn is gonna have one more view, which is gonna have two texts over here. Here we're gonna say to pay, and over here we're just gonna add up the total price. That's gonna be total plus the total value, that is this value plus this one. I think it's gonna be 90. Okay, so yeah, save the file. Yeah, so as you can see, that's looking better. So now we're gonna give the style for this particular view. So I'm gonna say style. It's gonna have a flex direction of row, align items of center, and we're gonna give it a justify content of space between and margin vertical of 8. Okay, so yep, as you can see, that's looking good. So here I'm gonna give it a font weight of bold. So style, font weight of 16, font weight of bold, and then font size of 16 or 15. You can give it anything. Yeah, so let's add the rupee symbol for everything. Yep, that's looking fine. That's looking nice. So yep, that part is done. So now we're going to initialize a fragment, okay, because this design is going to come below the scroll view. That means it's going to get to the bottom of the screen. So it's going to come to the bottom of the screen, and it's only going to appear if at all we have any items inside of the cart, or yeah, if at all basically the total is greater than 0. So with the help of this condition we're going to show the design. So I'm going to say if at all total equals to 0, then we're going to show null. If it is greater than 0, then we're going to show this particular design. So initialize the pressable over here, and for the pressable we're going to have basically the view inside. Okay, so view just like this, and inside the view we're going to have the text, and over here I'm going to say pay using cash. Okay, so let's give the style for this. So I'm going to say style, font size of 16 and a font weight of 600. All right, so we're going to initialize one more piece of text over here, and here I'm going to say cash on delivery. Let's give the style for this as well, a slight margin top of, let's say, 7 and a font size of 15. Okay, so save the file. Yeah, so as you can see, since the total is greater than 0, we're able to see that design coming on the screen. which is good. Okay, so now after the view, we're going to initialize one more pressable over here, and let's give the design for the outermost pressable that's going to contain the view and the pressable. So first of all, flex direction of row, and we're going to have align items of center. Yeah, so after that we're going to give it some internal spacing, padding of 20, and we're going to say justify content of space between, background color of white. Okay, so as you can see, that's looking good. So now for this pressable, we're gonna give the styles. So inside this, we're gonna have one more view, and inside the view we're gonna have basically the text, which is gonna say basically the total plus whatever the extra charges are, and we're gonna give the style for the text. So I'm gonna say style, so the color is gonna be white, and font size is gonna be 15, and then font weight is going to be bold. And below the text we're going to have one more piece of text which says total. So font size of 15, color of white. Okay, and we're going to give it basically a font weight of 500 and a slight margin top. So margin top of 3. Save the file. Okay, that's weird, not able to see anything on the screen. So firstly, let's give the style for this, the pressable. So I'm going to say style over here. So I'm going to give it a background color of this color code, that is FT5C63. Yeah, now we're able to see it. Okay, because the background color was white. And yeah, so we're going to give it some internal spacing, padding of 10, and we're going to give it a width of 200, a border radius of 6. We're going to give it a flex direction of row, align items of center, justify content of space between, and I'm going to give it a gap of 10. Okay, save the file. So yeah, that's looking better. So now after the view, we're going to have one more piece of text that's going to come, which is going to say place order. So yeah, let's give the style for this. It's going to have a font size of 16, and it's going to have a font weight of 500 and a color of white. Okay, save the file. Yeah, so as you can see, that's looking good. So we have finished designing the entire cart screen. So now the next step is, if at all we're going to press on the place order button, we're going to create a new screen, that is the final screen, the order screen, where we're going to render the map, and we're going to show the distance between, or the information or the design between the two parts, that is the user's location and the hotel's location, with the help of the map, with the help of the React Native maps. So let's firstly initialize the onPress event on the pressable, where we have the total being shown. So here for the pressable, I'm going to initialize the onPress event, and we're going to say, first of all, we're going to dispatch clean cart action, and then we're going to say router.replace. The path name is going to be /order, and params is going to be params.name. Okay, so first of all, let's create our order screen. So let's press on home, and then new file, order.js, rnfes to get the shorthand snippet. Save the file. So let's include this into our layout.js file. Okay, let's come back over here. So let's import this particular clean cart from the cart reducer file. Okay, you can import it like this. I think it's not yet imported. Yeah, it's imported over here. Okay, so let's save the file, and as soon as we press on the place order button, we should clean this cart, and then we should navigate to the order page. So let's give that a try. Okay, router does not exist, so let's initialize our router. So I'm going to say const router equals to use router. Yeah, so let's refresh the app because the cart would have been empty because the first step would have been executed, that is clean cart. So I'm going to reload the app and then start it from the starting point, that is the home screen. So yeah, let's press on the first hotel and I'm going to add the first two items, and over here I'm going to press in place order. As you can see, we're coming to the order screen. So let's start designing the order screen. So over here at the top, first of all, I'm going to initialize my params. So I'm going to say const params equals to use local search params, and I'm going to initialize my tip as well for the bottom design that's going to come after we render the map. So I'm going to say const tip set tip equals to use state of 0. I also need access to the time. So first of all, let's install moment. So I'm going to say yarn add moment over here. So now here I'm going to say const time equals to access moment, import moment from moment. I'm going to say moment dot format. So it's going to be in this format, that is LT. And I'm going to initialize my map view as well. So I'm going to say const map view equals to use ref. So initially it would be pointing to null. Okay, so inside the view block, first of all, I'm going to initialize basically my safe area view. So import safe area view from the React Native, copy that, and over here inside the safe area view, first of all, we're going to initialize the view. Okay, so inside the view, I'm going to initialize one more view, which is going to have a text which says a delivery in 25 minutes. Okay, something like this. And we're going to say order placed at whatever time we have placed the order. So here I'm going to say order placed at this particular time that we have rendered with the help of the moment package. So save the file. Yeah, so let's refresh once and then let's give this one more try. So let's give this one more try. So I'm just gonna add some items to the cart. Let's press and place order. So as you can see, order placed at this particular time, 6:22 p.m. Alright, so now we're gonna give the style for the outermost view, and before that I'm gonna have one text field over here. Okay, so for this style, for the outermost view that contains the view as well as the text, I'm gonna give the style. So here I'm gonna say basically flex direction of row, and we're gonna give it align items of center and justify of space between, and we're going to give it a specific height of, let's say, 60, and we're going to give it a background color of this color code, that is FD 5C and then 63, and we're going to give it some internal spacing, that is padding of 10. So save the file. So as you can see, you're able to see that on the screen. So now for the text, we're going to give the style for both of it. So I'm going to say style. So basically here I'm going to give it a color of white. Okay, and we're going to give it a specific font size of 15, and we're going to give it a font weight of 600. And for the below text as well, we're going to give it a color of white. Pretty much you're going to just copy the same piece of styling for the second text as well. So I'm going to say this one. Okay, so for this one too, the same piece of styling. Yeah, so now the next step we'll be looking into is we're going to initialize our map view. So for that, we need access to basically the React Native map. So let's install that. So here I'm going to say yarn add React Native maps. Okay, so with the help of this, we're going to initialize and render the map. Yeah, so we have installed this dependency. So let's go at the top of the page, and then we're going to initialize the coordinates that is required. So I'm going to say coordinates equals to use state. Okay, so this is going to take in basically in the form of an array, that is latitude. So I'm just going to get the data for this, okay, instead of typing it out. Okay, so I just pasted the code for the latitude and the longitude. Okay, so currently while we implement the backend part, we're gonna initialize and get the original latitude and longitude of the user. So now for now we're just currently using this, and the second one is gonna be for the hotel. Okay, so since we have not currently passed anything, because we already have the data that is there inside of the hotel, if you want you can pass that and access the same thing from the starting point, that is, I believe it's there over here where we have the hotels data. I think in the index page, I guess. Yeah, over here, as you can see, we have something known as the latitude and longitude. So if you want, you can pass this and get the value over here, and you can use it over here with the help of the params.latitude and params.longitude. You can use it over here, and while implementing the backend part, we're going to make use of this as well, that is the original latitude and longitude of the user with the help of the redux itself. So now with the help of map view, we're going to render this. So here I'm going to say map view. So import map view from React Native Maps. So this is going to take in the reference. We have already created the reference, that's going to be map view reference, that is this view, map view. And apart from that, we're going to give some initial region to this, so you can note that down over here. And apart from that, we're going to give the style for this, so we're going to give it a specific width of 400 and a height of a width of 100% and a height of 400. So a height of 400. Okay, so inside the map view, we're going to initialize the marker. So marker is going to take in basically the coordinates. So in our case, we're going to pass in each of the coordinates that we have once. So this is going to be coordinates of 0. And again, I'm going to copy the same thing, coordinates of 1. And basically here we're going to have the polyline, that is going to be the line between both of the markers that is present. So this polyline is going to take in the 2 coordinates, okay, so that we can draw the line between them. So here I'm going to say coordinates equals to coordinates in our case, okay. And apart from that, we're going to give the stroke color is going to be black, and I'm going to say line dash pattern is going to be 4 inside of an array, and I'm going to say stroke width is going to be 1. Yep, so that's it. We can save the file hopefully. And one more thing is we need to also initialize our use effect in such a way that all of the edge paddings is correctly applied from all the 4 sides of the map. So to do that, first of all, let's import use effect from React, and here I'm going to say use effect, and I'm going to say map view dot current. We have the method known as fit to coordinates, so that we can see both the markers that is in a single view, that is the user's location as well as the hotel's location, in one single view by applying something known as the edge padding. So I'm going to say edge padding, it's going to take in an object of values, that is a top value, bottom value, so bottom of 50, left of 50, and basically right of 50 as well. So yeah, we're going to call this one time. So I'm just going to pass in a empty dependency array over here. So yep, let's save the file once. So as you can see, we have the map being displayed over here, which is absolutely working fine. And because of the edge padding, we have given the top values and the bottom left and right values. You're able to see both the markers in one particular go, right? So now we have the final design that we have to just put it over here, just below the map view. So I'm just going to get the code for that. Okay, so I've just pasted the code for the remaining part of the design over here. Okay, so basically after the map view, we are initializing a view which is going to contain one more view, and below that we have one more view which is going to contain the text which says this particular hotel is accepted your order. And after that, we're just going to show the tipping part at the bottom part just for the design purpose. You can look into the design from the start. And for each tip, we're going to show it if at all it's selected or not. Okay, if you want, you can cancel it over here as well. So yeah, that's it. So we have completed the front end part of it. Okay, so now the next and final thing we're looking into is the design of the login and the register screen. So once we do that, we're gonna go into Supabase and then create a new project, and then we're gonna get and then we're gonna get all the required configuration details, and with the help of that we're gonna add some data into the backend, and then we're gonna fetch it in the front end, and then we're gonna check if everything is working right or wrong. So now the first step is we're gonna go and design two screens, that is the login screen as well as the register screen. So now I'm just gonna open up my file tree and then create a new route inside of the app router that is gonna be for authentication. So I'm gonna create a new folder and I'm gonna say authenticate over here. And inside authenticate, first of all, we're gonna create some files that is required. That is two files, login.js. So rnfes to get the Sujan snippet. Okay, save the file, and again one more new file, that is register.js rnfes to get the Sujan snippet. So save the file. So now apart from this, we need to create our layout for this particular directory, that is authenticate. So I'm going to say underscore layout.js. Okay, so here I'm going to say import stack from Expo Router. Okay, and apart from this, we're going to initialize our function. So here I'm going to say export default function layout. Okay, so here I'm going to say return stack, and inside over here we're going to initialize both of the screens. So I'm going to say stack.screen. So over here I'm going to say name is going to be login. Okay, and we're going to provide some options, that is basically we're going to give header shown and we're going to set it to be false. So I'm going to say header shown and set it to be false, and we're going to initialize the second one as well. So I'm going to say stack.screen over here. So the name is going to be register, and I'm going to give the options. It's again going to be header shown, header shown is going to be false. Okay, so save the file. So now we're going to make one more change, that is whenever the app loads, we're going to show the login screen and not the home screen. So depending upon whether the user is logged in or not, we're going to show the home screen or the login screen itself. So here I'm going to make the change. So it's going to be authenticate and / login to go to the login page. So save the file. So let's refresh once. You should be seeing the change, that is we should be seeing the login screen. So as you can see, we're able to see the login screen over here. So let's head over to the login.js file and then start designing the login screen. So first of all, we're gonna copy this. We're gonna use the same kind of design that we have used previously to design the login and the register screens. So I'm gonna make use of my safe area view over here. Okay, and inside the safe area view, we're gonna have a view which is gonna contain the text, and I'm just gonna give text which says food app, since we do not have the correct image for this, and we're gonna style this out. So I'm gonna say style, I'm gonna give it a font size of, let's say 20, text align of center, and I'm gonna give it a font weight of bold. And for the safe area view, we're gonna give this style, I'm gonna give it a flex of 1, and we're gonna give it a background color of white, and I'm gonna give it align items of center. Okay, and I think for this, let's give it some margin top for this particular view. So I'm gonna say style margin top of 50. Okay, yep, that's looking fine. And after that, we're gonna initialize our keyboard avoiding view, import that from React Native. So inside the keyboard avoiding view, I'm going to initialize my view, which is going to contain a text which says login to your account, and we're going to give the style for the text over here. So I'm going to say style, basically a font size of 17, and we're going to give it a font weight of bold. And apart from that, we're going to give it some margin top of 12, and we're going to give it a specific color, let's say red. Okay, so as you can see, that's looking good. So now apart from that, we're going to initialize one more view that's going to contain basically the text inputs. So for this view, I'm going to give a margin top of 70. Okay, and after that, we're going to initialize one more view inside of this. So this view in turn is going to contain the material icons, that is the email icon. So I'm going to search for email over here. We're going to make use of this one. So first of all, import the icon family and copy the render component code, and we're going to paste it over here. Okay, so after this, we're going to have the text input. Import that from React Native, just like this. So it's going to have a placeholder which is going to say enter your email. And we're going to give it some style as well. So color is going to be gray, a margin vertical of 10, and a specific width of 300. So save the file. So now we're going to give the style for the view over here. So I'm going to say flex direction of row, align items of center, a gap of 5, a background color of E0, 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 and padding vertical of 5, and we're going to give it basically a border radius as well. So border radius of 5 and a margin top of 30. Okay, so that's it. We're going to save the file. So as you can see, that's looking okay. So I think for this also we're going to give it align items of center for the view. So here I'm going to say align items of center, or you can give a text align of center to the text as well. That also should work. Okay, so over here for the icon, we're going to give it a margin left. So let's go over here and I'm going to say style. So margin left of 8. Okay, and we're going to give it a color of gray instead of black over here. So as you can see, that's looking fine. So now we have the next part of the design. So we're just going to copy this and we're going to paste it over here itself. Okay, and we're going to make the change. So yeah, apart from that, we're going to make the change for this thing. So here it's going to say enter your password. Okay, and we're going to make the change for the icon as well. So it's going to be the lock icon. So let's import the icon family first at the top, and we're going to copy the render component code and we're going to paste it right over here instead of the material icons, and we're going to copy down the style as well. Yeah, that's looking good. So now after that, we're going to have one more piece of design that's going to come down after this particular view. So I'm going to say view over here. So this is going to take in two texts. It's going to say keep me signed in over here, and or keep me okay, or instead of keep me signed in, we can give keep me logged in over here. So I'm going to say keep me logged in, and apart from that, we're going to have second text which is going to say forgot password. That's going to come towards the right part of the screen. So here I'm going to say forgot password, and we're going to give the style for the view. So basically we're going to give it the flex direction of row. So I'm going to say flex direction of row and a slight align items of center, and apart from that, we're going to give it justify content of a space between and a bit of margin top. So I'm going to say margin top of 12, and then I'm going to save the file. So yeah, that's looking good. So now after that, we're going to initialize our pressable over here. So I'm going to say pressable. So inside the pressable, we're going to have basically the text attribute, which is going to say login. So I'm going to initialize my text over here with the word login, and I'm going to give the style for the pressable. So it's going to have a specific width, the width of 200, and a background color of, let's say, red again. And over here, we're going to give it a border radius of 6, margin left to photo, and margin right to photo as well. Okay, and some internal spacing, padding of 15. Save the file, and we're going to give it a margin top as well. So I mean, yeah, margin top we need to increase for this, or we have not given for this. So margin top of 30, and let's search for a light shade of CSS. So I'm going to search for CSS color gradient. So we're going to make use of, let's say, this one. Okay, and we're going to paste it over here instead of red. Yeah, that's looking okay. And we're going to give it we're going to give text align of center for the login button. So here I'm going to say text align of center. We're going to make it look bold, so I'm going to say font weight of bold, and here I'm going to say font size of 16. Okay, so 16. Yeah, that's looking good. And we're going to make it, and we're going to give it a color of white for this. Okay, yeah, that's looking nice. Let's keep the margin top to be 50. Yeah, so apart from that, we're going to have one more pressable if at all the user is not logged in. I mean, if at all the user is not registered, we need to register the user. So here I'm going to say text don't have an account. Then here I'm going to say sign up. So for the pressable, I'm just going to give it a margin top. So margin top of 15. And for the text over here, we're going to give it a text align of center, a color of gray, a font size of 16. Okay, that's looking good. So now I'm just going to copy down the same thing and paste it in the register file, and we're going to make the changes. Okay, so here it's going to be register, and over here also export default register. So yeah, over here we forgot to handle the inputs, that is whatever the user is typing. So I'm going to say const email comma set email equals to use state. So initially I'm going to pass in an empty string, and again same thing for password as well. So const password comma set password equals to a use state, again empty string over here. We're going to scroll down to the text input and give the value for it. So I'm going to say value is going to be email, and it's going to take in something known as the onChange text, which is going to take in the text, and whatever the user is typing in, we're going to set the email to be that particular text. So the same thing we're going to do that for the password as well. So I'm going to paste it over here. So instead of email, it's going to be password, and over here it's going to be set the password. So save the file, and over here also we're going to just copy down the same thing, and we're going to have one more input field, that's going to be the name field. So yeah, we're going to say const name comma set name equals to use state of an empty string. Okay, so over here we're just going to copy down this one more time, and here it's going to say enter your name. Save the file. So now over here we're going to initialize our router. So I'm going to say const router equals to use router. Okay, so here we're going to give the on press. So I'm going to say on press, take in a function, and I'm going to say router dot replace to the / register. So save the file and press on it. Okay, over here use state does not exist, so let's import use state from React and save the file. So as you can see, we're coming to the correct register screen. So here we're going to say register to your account. Okay, so we're going to change the icon over here, that is for the first one. So here we're going to make use of the person icon, that is from ion icon. So make sure you import ion icons over here and save the file. So as you can see, that's looking better. So let's remove this one, that's not required. Okay, and we're gonna make one more change for the input. That is, yeah, we're gonna copy down the same thing that we had done earlier. It's gonna come over here, and this is gonna come down for the password. So over here we're gonna make the change for the name. So instead of password, it's gonna be name, and instead of the set password, it's gonna be set name. Okay, we have already initialized that state. So yeah, format the document and save the file. So here we're gonna make the change. Already have an account, then sign in. So here we're gonna say on press. Firstly, let's initialize a router. So I'm gonna say const router equals to use router. Okay, import that from Expo Router, and over here basically I'm gonna write on press, take in a function, and I'm gonna say router dot replace to the / login. Alright, so we are gonna go to the register screen, and we're able to come back to the login screen. So we are able to switch between both the screens for logging in as well as registering. So now the next step is we have completed the entire design of the app. So now the next step is to create a new project in Supabase, and then try to configure the required things and add the details into the backend. So let's head over to Supabase and then create a fresh new project. So now let's head over to Chrome and then create a fresh project in Supabase. So I'm gonna search for supabase.com, and we're gonna go to the dashboard, and this is the previously created project. So I'm gonna press on new project over here. So you can choose the organization as this one, and project name I'm gonna say food YouTube, like this. And yeah, I'm gonna enter the password, and I'm gonna press on create new project. I'm gonna leave this as default and press on this create new project. So yeah, now make sure you copy the URL as well as this public key into your VS Code. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy down both of them, and you can paste it for now inside of, let's say, the app.js. You can just comment that down and paste it over here, because we'll be using both of them while configuring this. So the next one is the public key, copy that out as well, and we're gonna paste it over here. Okay, so save the file. So now what we're gonna do is, yeah, so our project is created. So now we're gonna go to something known as a table editor. Yeah, instead of going over here, we're gonna go to the database, and then we have this option which says create new table. So I'm gonna press a new table, and we're gonna give the table name. So in this case, I'm gonna give it as hotels. Okay, and over here we're not going to enable this real time, and over here we can add all of the columns that we want into the hotels data, right? So I'm going to say the first column I want is of type text, and the column name is going to be name, or I'm just going to go to my other project and then check out the exact names that we've used. Okay, so I'm going to go to dashboard. I'm going to go to this project, and then basically the table editor. So once we create the table, it's going to come up over here. All right, so now we have the name that is of type text. We have given that, and yeah, so initially it's going to be null, and I'm going to say add column. So the next thing we have over here is the description. So here I'm going to say description. So this also is going to be of type text. Okay, so make sure the spellings you write over here is the same thing that we have rendered while implementing the hotel component. And I'm going to say add column. So after description we have basically the aggregate rating. So here I'm going to say aggregate rating, and this is going to be, I think, a type of number. No, this also is going to be a type of text. So I'm going to choose text over here, and after aggregate rating we have the time and then featured image. So let's press on add column. It's going to be time. This also is going to be of type text. So let's press on the drop down and I'm going to select on text over here, and after time we have the featured image. Okay, so I'm going to press on add column and then I'm going to say featured underscore image, and this also is going to be of type text. And finally we have the menu for that particular hotel, right? So I'm going to say add column and I'm going to write menu over here. So menu, and over here basically it's going to be, I think, JSON. Yeah, it's going to be a JSON array, so I'm going to make use of this one. And yeah, default is going to be null, and apart from that the created at and the ID value will be automatically generated by Supabase when we go ahead and add a particular entry into the hotel's database. So I'm going to press on save for this, so it's going to take some time. Yeah, so as you can see our table data has been created. So now if you want to add the data, you have to go to the table editor over here. Okay, so go to the hotels towards the left hand side, and yeah, so there is an option known as insert, and we can press on insert row. As you can see, this is automatically generated, this also is automatically generated, and as you can see previously we had given the default value as null, so it is null. So here you can enter the data. Okay, so I'll be entering all of the data required. I'll be sending whatever to enter in the drive link, so you can access that as well. So first thing is we need to use the menu while building the first part of it. While adding the data in the backend, I'll be sending the required data that I have used in this particular app. Okay, so I'll just add all of the data and then come back. So once you add all of the data, you can just press on save, so it's gonna come as the first entry with all of the details being added. So let me add that data and then come back. So currently I have added 2 pieces of information over here, as you can see, just for the demo. But while sending, I'll send all of the 5 informations in the drive link. You can just copy that out and you can insert it over here with the help of the insert button. So now if we're gonna go back to the VS Code, and over here we're gonna create a separate file known as supabase.js. Okay, so before that we have to install 2 things. So let's come to the terminal. Over here I'm gonna say yarn add Supabase and Supabase.js. So let's press on enter. Alright, so after installing that, we need one more thing, that is React Native URL polyfill. So let's install that as well. Yeah, so now over here inside the Supabase.js, first of all I'm going to import my create client from this particular dependency, just like this. And over here firstly I'm going to import React Native URL polyfill and then auto. So here I'm going to initialize my Supabase URL. So I'm going to say const Supabase URL equals to, we've already copied down it in the app.js, so it's going to be this one. So copy that down and we're going to paste it over here, and I'm going to say const Supabase anon key is going to be the second one that we have copied. So I'm just going to copy down this and I'm going to paste it over here. All right, so now we're gonna export the required value so that we can use it in the app. So I'm gonna say export const Supabase equals to, we have the create client, let's use that. This is going to take in 2 things, that is the Supabase URL as well as the Supabase anon key. So yeah, let's save the file. And now let's head over to the login screen, and then let's head over to the register screen and then initialize the on press function on the register button. Yeah, so over here we need to make the change, that is register. Okay, so let us initialize on press over here. So I'm going to say on press equals to sign up new user. So I'm gonna define this function at the top over here. So it's gonna be an async function. So I'm gonna say async function sign up new user. So here first of all we are gonna get the data and the error. So I'm gonna say const data comma error equals to await import Supabase from the file that we just wrote the code in. So I'm going to say await Supabase dot, we have the auth and we have the sign up method. So as you can see, we have n number of methods. We're going to use sign up over here. So here we're going to pass in the required things. So the name is going to be name, and this method actually takes in two things. So I'm going to say email is going to be email, and the password is going to be password. Okay, so let's format once. And if you want, you can console.log the data over here. I've already done that. So I'm going to check the condition that if at all the data dot user dot role equals to authenticated, then we're going to show up a alert box over here. So I'm going to say alert dot alert you have been successfully registered, and automatically Supabase sends the verification email to that particular email whichever you have given while registering. So I'm going to say please check your email for confirmation. Okay, so yeah, that's it. And if at all there is any error, again we're going to check the same condition. Here I'm going to say if at all there is any error, that is like this, we're going to change the message, that is error while registering, then please try again. Okay, so let's save the file. So now we're gonna go to the login screen, and then we're gonna initialize the onPress function for that. So let's go to login.js. So let's define the function. So I'm gonna say async function sign up with email. Okay, so here let's write the function, and again it's going to be the similar thing. It's going to give the data and the error equals to await. Let's access Supabase from the Supabase file that we just created, and .auth we have the sign in with password. We're going to use this method. So this is going to take in two things, of course the email for that registered email and the password for that particular email. So yep, that's it. If you want, you can again console.log the data. Okay, and over here if the data is there, it's going to give us of course the access token. So now let's install the async storage into our project. So I'm going to search for Expo async storage, go to the first link, let's install this one with the help of this code. So inside the terminal I'm going to paste it over here. Yeah, so this has been installed over here. So now I'm going to check if at all we have the data. Then I'm going to say const token equals to data dot session dot the access token. You can console.log the data, you would get this is going to be the exact value to access the token. So here I'm going to say async storage, import that like this. So we'll make use of the set method to set the token. So I'm going to say set item, and we're going to pass in the key for this. So I'm going to say auth token, and I'm going to pass in the value that's going to be the token itself. And after we do this, I'm going to say router dot replace to basically / home. Okay, so yep, that's it. I think we need to add the parentheses as well because that's the correct path. And now we're going to initialize a use effect and then check if all the token is present or not present. So I'm going to say use effect, import that from React, and over here we're going to say const check login equals to async function, and we're going to initialize our try catch block over here. and in the catch block I'm going to say console.log of error. So inside the try block, basically I'm going to say const token equals to await async storage to get item of get item. So here we're making use of the get item. It's going to take in the key that we had previously used. So if at all we have the token, here we are going to say router.replace to /home, because we have the token. If we do not have the token, it is automatically going to show us the login screen itself, and we're going to call the function over here. Let's comment this out for now. Okay, and let's give this function over here, that is for the pressable, where we have the login button for this one. So I'm going to say on press, it's going to be a sign up with email, I guess. Sign up with email. This is going to be the function. Okay, so now let's check out Supabase and let's check if at all the email option is configured or not. So to do that, let's go to authentication once. We're going to go to providers, and as you can see, email is currently enabled. So you can check out all the different providers over here, and of course you can check out the docs and then you can implement all of them by your own, because the docs is really good for this. Okay, so as you can see, for our thing, that is email, that is enabled. So now let's give this a try. That is, let's go to the register screen and then enter the name and then try to register over here. I'm going to enter my email over here. I'm going to enter my password as well, and I'm going to press on register. Okay, so as you can see, you have been successfully registered. Please check your email for confirmation. So one thing we need to do is, after registering, let's make all of the fields to be empty, right? So you could do that. You can just say set email, set name, and set password to be an empty string again. So now let's head over to Supabase and then check if at all we have the users. So I'm going to go back one step and let's refresh this. You should be seeing my name, my profile created over here. So as you can see, created, this is the date, and yeah, this is waiting for verification. So I'm going to go to my email and check if at all I've got the verification email. So as you can see, this is the verification email that I've just got, okay, 0 minutes ago. So if you press on it, automatically it's going to confirm. Okay, so as you can see, our email is confirmed. You can check out again over here, refresh it over here. You should be seeing over here that it is verified. Okay, that part is gone. So our profile is currently verified. So similarly, you can do that and create a number of profiles. So now let's press on already have an account and then sign up. So I'm going to enter my mail over here, and I'm going to enter my password as well. So if at all everything works correctly, let's firstly save the file. And let's again enter our email. Okay, let's check if at all everything we have done is correct. So firstly, we are initializing this method, that is sign in with password, and if at all we have the data, this is going to be the token, and we're going to set the token, and we're going to say router.replace to be home. That means it's going to go automatically to the index.js and then show the required data. Yeah, so let's press on login. Let's also uncomment this one, such that it's going to check if at all we have the token or not. So let's press, let's again enter our details, and this is going to be the password. Okay, I think we forgot one more thing. You could add over here secure text entry to be true for the password. We have forgotten that. So let's press on login over here. So as you can see, we have successfully logged in and we are coming to the home screen. And if you can check out the console, okay, I've not console.logged it. You can check out the console. You would be getting the access token, and you would be getting other details as well. And we have set it into the async storage with this particular token. All right, so now that's looking fine. So now the next step we'll be looking into is we're going to go into the home screen, and we're going to initialize basically a function to get the data that we have given in the backend, that is the initial 2 rows I showed you, right? We're going to fetch that. So let's initialize a use effect over here. So use effect, and inside the use effect we're going to initialize the function. I'm going to say async function, fetch a data, async function fetch data, and here we're going to initialize our try catch block firstly. So I'm going to say try catch of error, and over here I'm going to say console.log error with that particular error message, whatever that is. Okay, so inside the try block, what I'm going to do is, again, it's going to be the similar thing. We're going to get two things, that is the data and the error from the method that we're going to use. I'm going to say await initialize Supabase. That's going to come from that particular file, and we have the from method. So into the from method, we're going to pass in the name of the table. So in our case, it's going to be hotels. So I'm going to say dot from of hotels, and we have the select method, and I just want all of the data. So I'm just going to say star. That means give all of the data. If you want, you can console.log the data. So first of all, let's initialize our state to hold the data. So here I'm going to say const data comma set data equals to use state of an empty array, because we have n number of items. Use state is already imported. So here we're going to check the condition and then save the data into the state. So here I'm going to say if at all we have any error in fetching it, I'm going to say console.log error fetching data with that particular error, and else if we do not have any error, then just set the data to be the data itself. So set data to be data. So here we're going to call the function after we have initialized it. So I'm going to say fetch data, and at the bottom over here I'm just going to say console.log of the data. So hopefully if you have done everything correctly, you should be able to see the data coming. That is 2 pieces of information. So let's save the file. Okay, currently we have nothing. As you can see, data is still empty. So let us see where we have gone wrong. So as you can see, we are not able to see the required data in the console because we've actually forgotten to disable an option in Supabase. So let's go do that. So firstly, I'm going to head over to Chrome over here, and I'm going to go to my project, and I'm going to press on this button, that is no active RLS policies. So as you can see over here, it says RLS is enabled for this particular hotels backend. So I'm going to press on this button, that is disable RLS, and I'm going to press on confirm. Okay, so currently as you can see, RLS is disabled. So now I'm just going to cut my server, and then I'm going to restart my app. So hopefully this time we should be seeing the required data. So let's give that a try. So here I'm just going to say npx expo start. And I'm going to press on I to open on the iOS simulator. Yeah, so now as you can see, we are able to get the required data from the backend after disabling that. Otherwise it won't work. Okay, so the same thing I've done in the previous project also, which I've built. So as you can see, we have the data array. We have 2 pieces of information with all of the data that we have, and again menu. So currently you're not able to see the full menu because it is just showing in the form of an object, as you can see, right? So now we're going to make use of this data, and then we're going to map over it instead of the normal hotels. So here I'm just going to say data.map. So save the file. Okay, so as you can see, we are able to see all of the data coming from the backend. So I think we could make one more change, that is for the description, because we currently have the description over here. So instead of the hard-coded value, here we could write item.description and save the file. Okay, so as you can see, that's looking better. So yeah, we could go to the first hotel, and we're going to make the change for the menu as well. So one more change we're going to make is, let's come back to the index.js that is over here, and we're going to send the menu as well over here. So I'm going to say menu. So to access the menu, it's going to be item.menu. Okay, so save the file, and we're going to go to the hotel, and inside the hotel we're going to first of all stringify the menu, and then we're going to parse it as well while going to the next screen. So over here I'm going to say const first of all, let's destructure menu. That's going to come from the props, and here I'm going to say const menu items equals to json dot stringify of menu. We're just doing this because sometimes when you send in this way, that is basically the array, it's not going to get fetched in the next screen because I've already tried it. So I'm gonna use the stringify method and then parse it in the next screen while we receive the required information. So if you want, you can console.log the menu items over here. I'm not going to do that. And apart from the aggregate rating, we're just going to say menu is going to be menu items, just like this. Yeah, so apart from that, you can actually directly send the menu as well. So you could do that by just saying menu is going to be, or items is going to be menu dot items. Okay, you could even try this as well. It's going to give the same value. So now we're just going to use this one, that is the stringified value. So yeah, let's save the file and let's head over to the hotel.js where we are receiving the information, and let's press on the first hotel. Yeah, so currently we are making use of the local data that we have previously used in the video. So now what we're going to do is we're going to firstly parse the required information. So let's come back over here and I'm going to say const received menu equals to, we have the json dot parse method, and to this we're going to pass in the params. To access the value, it's going to be menu. So params is already initialized. So now instead of this menu that we were using previously, I'm just going to replace it with the received menu. So it's gonna happen over here. So received menu over here as well and over here as well. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, we could save the file and then check it out. Yeah, so now as you can see, everything is replaced. So we have currently tacos and burritos roles for this particular hotel. So all of this is coming right from the backend as well. So we can scroll it and everything is working absolutely fine. Okay, so we have successfully completed this project, whatever we have thought in the initial part of the video. And if you want, you can also try to upgrade this to the next level by adding some more features and functionalities wherever you find it is useful. Okay, maybe in the order screen or somewhere over here itself in the designs by including more kinds of designs. Okay, so I think that's it about this project. So let's see in the next project, and then thank you for watching.